Chapter 268. Suddenly, the surging blood pond calmed down. An indescribable chill appeared, freezing it in the blink of an eye. Then, with a cracking sound, the pool of blood shattered into countless pieces and fell to the ground with a pitter-patter. Chinyu's closed eyes suddenly opened at this time. A sharp light erupted from them, and a faint blood-red color appeared in the depths of his eyes for several breaths of time before fading away. Yuchi sighed inwardly. Indeed, this pool of demon blood had not only helped him recover from his injuries, but the aura of his demon body had also become increasingly powerful. Moreover, the blood-red color in Chinyu's eyes didn't escape her eyes. It was clear that there were other harvests in plundering the strength of the inherited demon blood. Chinyu suddenly said, "I believe that this is a good chance to kill Heaven-Seek Old Demon." A light flashed in Yuchi's eyes. "You mean to lure him in and kill him?" Chinyu said in a deep voice, "That's right. Heaven-Seek Old Demon is not the Demon Lord. It will be very difficult for us to find his hiding place. Unless he shows himself, it will be extremely difficult to kill him. Today's battle to kill the Demon Monarch is bound to cause an uproar, and everyone in the world will know about it. Especially the final attack that the Demon Monarch summoned. The Demon Monarch's demonic shadow is extremely terrifying. It's only natural that I'm heavily injured." Yuchi's eyes lit up with praise. "If you want to lure him in and kill him, then I suggest you choose the land of sealed demons as Heaven-Seek Old Demon's graveyard." Chinyu frowned. "Not too long ago, when I broke in a nascent soul, I broke through the seal of the land of sealed demons and killed Blue Cloud Demon. I fear that place is useless now." "You killed Blue Cloud Demon?" Yuchi curled her lips. "I was thinking of capturing him this time and torturing him to avenge the great enmity of the past." He paused for a moment and continued to say, "What you broke through is only the sealing strength of the land of sealed demons. You are far from being able to shake the power that created it. Otherwise, let alone breaking in a nascent soul, I fear you would have already been crushed into powder." Suddenly, Yuchi seemed to think of something. She stared straight at Chinyu. "You said that you crossed nascent soul, heavenly tribulation in the land of sealed demons?" Chinyu's thoughts stirred. He calmly said, "That's right." Yuchi seemed to have a toothache. "Don't you feel that heavenly tribulation is different in any way?" Chinyu nodded. "It seems to be a bit stronger, but it's still early. I was prepared, so it went smoothly." Now he was sure. As Yuchi looked at Chinyu, her eyes immediately changed. In this land of exiles, no one knew better than her just how terrifying the land of sealed demons was. To cross tribulation there and still be able to jump around, there were definitely secrets on his body that she hadn't discovered yet. Yuchi suddenly realized that Chinyu was deliberately revealing this matter today as some sort of warning. Although this fellow's words were pretty, he was still worried deep down in his heart. Despicable. Chinyu looked at her complexion and knew that she had already guessed his thoughts. He felt a bit guilty, but his complexion didn't change at all. He knew almost nothing about the land of divinity and demons, so he would naturally do everything possible to ensure his own safety. This was understandable. "Miss Yuchi, listening to your words, it seems that there is a terrifying strength within the land of sealed demons that I don't know about." Yuchi coldly sneered. "Are you afraid that I will harm you as well?" Chinyu cupped his hands together. "I had no other choice. Please forgive me." Seeing his sincere words, the resentment in Yuchi's heart faded a little. She impatiently waved her hand. "You just need to draw him in. I have a way to help you kill him." Chinyu smiled. "Thank you, Miss Yuchi." After a moment of hesitation, a cold light flashed in his eyes. Boundless divine sense broke out from his body and swept through the entire Mulberry Sky Mountain. In this mountain, the small number of surviving demonic cultivators all stiffened, their faces deathly pale. The light in their eyes extinguished and their bodies slumped to the ground. Their souls had been twisted to pieces. Yuchi was surprised. This didn't seem to be Chinyu's style. Chinyu lightly said, "In this world, there are many people I care about. For their safety, I don't mind being stained with their blood." Whoosh, his figure shot into the skies. A brilliant light flashed in Yuchi's eyes. She followed close behind. The Northern Dynasty cultivators didn't know of the existence of the land of sealed demons. It was just that for many years, rumors had been circulating about it, causing many people to believe that there was some great secret hidden within the vast expanse of the land of exiles. And in the eyes of cultivators, secrets were often inextricably linked to treasures and lucky chances. Thus, when heavenly tribulation that was 10 times stronger arrived, the land of sealed demons quickly became lively. The power of the curse was terrifying, but when compared to a bright future, it was enough for some people to take risks out of desperation. And what was even more wonderful was that there really were cultivators who went in all directions. After circling around countless underground caves, they finally found treasures. There were even rumors that some people obtained supernatural abilities passed down from ancient times and were extremely powerful. This stimulated the mood of these adventurous cultivators. It was like this that Qin Yu arrived at the land of sealed demons for the third time. The demon god armor he wore had turned into ordinary black robes. His face was pale, and his eyes were filled with exhaustion. Cultivators that dared to enter the land of exiles to fight for their good fortune had to have some level of eyesight. Disregarding their cultivation, Qin Yu was definitely injured, and his injuries were extremely heavy. What was more important was the calm composure he exuded. Moreover, if he dared to come here in this state, then unless he was stupid or seeking his own death, he definitely had something he could rely on. Looking at Qin Yu's posture, the greatest possibility was the latter. Many cultivators' eyes flashed. After braving the risk of being infected by the curse to come here, there naturally weren't any good people. After a brief moment of hesitation, a fierce light shined in their eyes. That's right, Qin Yu might be difficult to deal with, but once he succeeded, his harvest would surely be astonishing. It was impossible to imagine just how many treasures such a great existence would have on him. The first to make a move was a skinny old man. Without any warning, he broke through the ground and launched a surprise attack. No one knew when he had hidden himself. More importantly, before the old man made his move, no one had sensed anything wrong. Just this point alone caused a chill to rise in the hearts of most cultivators. This was because if this thin old man wanted to, he could easily kill any one of them. It could be seen that this ordinary-looking old fellow was a fierce character. Before the cries of praise could be fully released, it was like someone had grabbed hold of them. Their syllables became sharp, and their eyes widened, nearly popping out of their sockets. They watched as the black-robed youth flicked his sleeves, and the thin old man was sent flying away. When he fell to the ground, his aura was completely gone. Such a fierce character had died like this without causing the slightest splash. But if one looked carefully, they would discover that the black-robed youth's face had paled even more. An arrow at the end of its flight? The edge of collapse? Thoughts raced through the minds of many cultivators, but no one dared to attack again. Even a ruthless assassin like this old man had been casually slapped to death. If it were anyone else, the result would likely be the same. The first to attack had a greater chance of dying. Only by following behind would they have a chance of eating the meat. But with so many people, there were bound to be different thoughts. It was indeed safe to wait in the back, but there was also the possibility that they wouldn't even be able to obtain a bit of soup. Someone else attacked. The three Wolf brothers. A Northern Dynasty cultivator cried out in alarm. In an instant, countless eyes gathered together, dread on their faces. The three Wolf brothers really were siblings from the same mother. It was just that their appearances were different, but each of them had a dark and ruthless expression, and a cunning light flashed in their eyes. In terms of cultivation, the three of them could only be considered average here. But what was most terrifying about them was that they had killed cultivators far stronger than them more than once. It was rumored that the three Wolf brothers had even killed a nascent Soul Realm superpowerhouse. The mountain-splitting saber in the eldest brother's hand was the spoils of war from that battle. It possessed an extremely terrifying might. Fellow Taoist, us brothers only seek wealth. If you can give us a satisfactory price, we will turn around and leave. The third brother smiled, his face full of sincerity. But before he could finish a sentence, he had already made his move. He used all his strength to scatter the dust. Of course, what he scattered was not lime powder. A rich stench instantly appeared. Many Northern Dynasty cultivators revealed looks of panic. Filthy corpse powder. Walala! Countless cultivators rapidly retreated from the area near Chinyu. In the blink of an eye, a large space had been cleared out. What nonsense! In the rumors, when the corpse refining sect refined corpses, they extracted a highly toxic poison from corpse oil. It was specifically used to destroy a cultivator's mortal body, and, after coming into contact with it, the poison would circulate through one's bloodstream. In just a short period of time, one's body would collapse into a puddle of corpse water. Many Northern Dynasty cultivators sighed inwardly. They were truly worthy of being called the Three Wolf Brothers. They were ruthless enough to take someone's life as soon as they attacked. The crux of the matter was that just a moment ago they were smiling brightly at you, and then in the next moment they were ruthlessly trying to kill you. There was simply no one that could compare to the speed at which they turned hostile. Of the three brothers, the second brother was the most taciturn. But as soon as he attacked, everyone knew what it meant to be a dog that didn't bark was the fiercest. A strange yellow light appeared, covering this person from head to toe. He didn't fear the filthy corpse powder at all and directly rushed forwards. A foot-long black spike shot straight between Chinyu's eyebrows. Even more people felt their backs wet with a cold sweat. Bang! The filthy corpse powder obscured everyone's vision, so they weren't able to see exactly what happened. They only heard a loud explosion, and then a figure was sent flying backwards. Ah! With a pitiful scream, the filthy corpse powder rapidly vanished. It had been forcefully pressed down on his body by an invisible strength. As he fell to the ground, he howled incessantly. His hands wildly clawed at his body, causing him to be dripping with blood. But in just several blinks of an eye, the blood turned pitch black and emitted a foul stench. The third brother cried out in sorrow, "Second brother!" He threw himself forwards. But before he could take out the antidote, his body stiffened. Then, like a wooden stake, he fell onto the second brother's body. The foul black blood stained his face. His entire body began to twitch, and his eyes nearly popped out of his head. But he didn't make the slightest sound. The second brother's miserable howls and the third brother's silence, in addition to their rapidly decaying bodies, caused everyone's scalps to tingle. The eyes of the wolf boss turned red. The three brothers were incomparably cruel and savage, but they were extremely close to each other. If it weren't for the fact that they had been killed countless times already, they would have died countless times already. He roared out loud. The mountain-splitting saber in his hand erupted with dazzling saber light. Like a waterfall, it instantly pierced through space. No one thought that one of the three wolf brothers, who were known for their savagery and cunning, would actually cultivate such a pure and powerful saber Tao. The might of this saber could be called that of a grand master. Bang! The saber light shattered and the saber cracked. Then the cracks continued upwards, finally spreading to the large saber hand. Puff! Minced meat fell to the ground. From start to finish, less than 10 breaths of time had passed. The Northern Dynasty's infamous three wolf brothers had died on the spot. With this, everyone was finally shocked. No one dared to attack again. They could only stare with wide eyes, awe and fear as the black-robed youth walked into the land of sealed demons, vanishing from their sight. An hour later, a bold person arrived at the place where he vanished. As they saw the pool of blood on the ground, their eyes brightened. Chapter 269. Deep in the mountains, clouds rose up. Cranes soared through the skies, and beasts roared. A giant manor loomed in the clouds. The manor was built according to the changing topography of the mountains. It covered an area of several thousand acres, and there were pavilions and pavilions like a forest. Palaces rose up from the ground, exuding a grand atmosphere. Amidst these pavilions and palaces, there was a black wooden house. It was completely out of place with its surroundings, like a drop of ink decorating it. But looking carefully, one would discover that the manor and even the rolling mountains around it were all faintly centered around this wooden house. Heaven-seek Old Demon was currently in this wooden house. He held a jade slip in his hands, a thoughtful look on his face. The jade slip contained information about what happened in the land of sealed demons a few days ago. And in front of him was another jade slip that had arrived a bit earlier. It contained details of the calamity that had befallen the demonic Path High Command's Mulberry Sky Mountain. The demon monarch's final strike had galvanized heaven and earth's spiritual strength for 100 miles. Its might was like a vast sea, enough to kill all cultivators below the divine soul realm. Qin Yu was indeed powerful, but he still wasn't at the divine soul realm. Facing the demon monarch's final counterattack, even if he didn't die, he would still have been severely wounded. This was something Heaven-seek Old Demon believed. The only pity was that Mulberry Sky Mountain had been completely slaughtered, and there was no one that had witnessed what had happened. This left Heaven-seek Old Demon feeling a bit restless. But right now, this was undoubtedly his last chance. If Qin Yu recovered, then he could only hide like a stray dog, and the Heaven-seek Pavilion that he had painstakingly established over the years would be uprooted. And most importantly, he didn't have much time left. Since this was the case, he might as well give it his all. Heaven-seek Old Demon made his decision. 2 days later, a gloomy and cold man stepped into the abandoned lands of the Northern Dynasty and arrived at the land of sealed demons. His entire person was like an ancient block of ice, constantly emitting a bone-chilling cold. Wherever he passed, the complexions of the Northern Dynasty cultivators would change, and they would retreat, not wanting to approach him at all. This person was clearly a fierce character. The gloomy and cold man seemed to be familiar with the land of sealed demons. He chose a crack in the ground and jumped down. Who is this person? He doesn't look familiar. I don't recognize him. TSK, he's not someone to be trifled with. What nonsense! Do you even need to look at his aura? Stay away from him, or you'll die. In the underground cave, the cold-looking man walked quickly. His eyes swept the surroundings from time to time, and he was extremely cautious. Suddenly, a clamor came from the front, followed by the sounds of fighting. This treasure was discovered by me. So what if you find out? It's mine now. Courting death. Let's kill him together. Bang! In the cave, a strong strength chi churned, and the stone walls began to tremble violently. The gloomy man frowned, but he didn't stop. He soon arrived at the battlefield. 5 Northern Dynasty cultivators were engaged in a fierce battle. His arrival instantly attracted everyone's attention, especially his aura, which caused the pupils of the 5 to shrink slightly. Let's stop and get rid of this person first. All right, the cold-looking man was clearly seen by them as someone who would fight for the treasure. Bang! The 5 Northern Dynasty cultivators attacked at the same time. The gloomy man's eyes flashed coldly. He took a step forward and disappeared instantly. Help! Spare me! Mournful screams rang out, but soon, everything returned to normal. The cold-looking man strode across the area, ignoring the treasure that had fallen to the ground. A faint smell of blood floated in the air. Deep within the land of sealed demons, in a newly opened cave, Qin Yu's eyes flashed open. He could feel the aura of Heaven-seek Old Demon. Although it was weak, it definitely wouldn't be wrong. He really came. Qin Yu stood up and stepped forwards. Since Heaven-seek Old Demon had arrived, he didn't want to delay any longer. In the tunnel, the cold-looking man's complexion changed. He turned without hesitation and shot backwards. And what was even more astonishing was that when he fell into a shadow on the ground, he fused into it and vanished from sight. Bang! The ground shattered and a shadow shot into the skies. Beneath the shining sunlight, the cold and gloomy man's figure was revealed. Several Northern Dynasty cultivators were stunned. They hadn't sensed anything wrong, so what was going on? At this time, a light voice spread into their ears. Since you've come, why leave? The cold and gloomy man stiffened. He turned and stared at Qin Yu, his eyes cold. It really was a scheme. Luckily, his master was cautious. Since Qin Yu had attacked, he had already seen through his identity. As he thought of his terrifying strength, the cold and gloomy man fell into despair, and his eyes became even fiercer. As the several Northern Dynasty cultivators saw Qin Yu's figure, they were stunned for a moment before being overjoyed. Wasn't this the mysterious master that had fled with heavy wounds? Everyone had turned this place upside down, but hadn't been able to catch him. They never thought he would jump out on his own. This was simply a pleasant surprise. Hurry and attack. Catch him and we'll be rich. The Northern Dynasty cultivators shouted as they rushed forwards. Their eyes were like they were looking at a giant fat sheep. Unfortunately, this fat sheep didn't have the mind to bother with them anymore. With a flick of his sleeves, waves rose up in the air, and heaven and earth's spiritual strength surged, sending several people flying away. Blood gushed out from their noses and mouths, causing them to fall unconscious on the spot. The cold and gloomy man moved. His entire body shrank into a ball, and his speed reached an unimaginable level. With a whoosh, he arrived just short of Qin Yu and stretched out his body. He grasped a dagger and thrust it towards Qin Yu's eyes. The eyes were the weakest part of a person's body. Even a famed body refinement powerhouse wouldn't have a good ending if their eyes were attacked. The cold and gloomy man had once used this move to blind a Buddhist cultivator who had reached large success in body refinement and then slowly grind him to death. But today, he clearly didn't have such luck. Bang! The cold and gloomy man was sent flying away. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and the heavy feeling in his chest immediately eased. He fell to the ground and rolled away, falling into the shadows and vanishing from sight like a drop of water in a lake. Qin Yu sneered. He lifted his foot and stomped down. The ground rumbled, and 100 feet away, the cold and gloomy man was shaken and sent flying away. He spat out another mouthful of blood. You can't escape. The cold and gloomy man sucked in a deep breath. Then I won't run. His voice was low and hoarse, as if he hadn't spoken for many years. Then a rich black light erupted from his body, and he turned into a black saber that slashed out. The vast saber potential was no less than that of the eldest of the 3 wolf brothers. In fact, it even contained a bit more of an indomitable killing intent. Qin Yu lifted a hand, and a red magic sword appeared. It was like the most blazing flame in the world, instantly smashing apart the black saber and burning it to ashes. The cold and gloomy man was sent flying away, blood gushing out from his nose and mouth. Countless blisters appeared on his body, as if he had been thrown into a raging inferno. Master will take revenge for me. He lifted a hand, about to end his own life. Qin Yu lifted a hand and pressed down. A mountain seemed to appear in the void, suppressing him. Heaven seek old demon, since you've come, why bother hiding? The cold and gloomy man's eyes flashed with panic. In the next moment, he revealed a pained expression, and his pupils rapidly expanded until they occupied his entire eye, turning pitch black. He looked up, and his expression became calm. He slowly said, Qin Yu, I never thought that the strength of your soul would reach such a formidable degree. It seems I have underestimated you. Qin Yu's eyes were icy cold. Heaven seek old demon. This day next year will be the anniversary of your death. He took a step forwards, and a terrifying aura erupted. The 5 element swords appeared, shaking the spiritual strength of the heavens and earth. Rumble, rumble. Rivers and lakes surged. Qin Yu, stop. With a shout, Yu Qi flew forwards. He is only a soul fragment, not Heaven Seek Demon's true body. Heaven Seek old demon's pitch-black eyes fell down. Who are you? Yu Qi had a light expression. What I want to know is, how did a mere cultivator from the land of exiles obtain the soul-splitting mystic art? Heaven Seek old demon's complexion changed. The land of divinity and demons. Yu Qi's lips curled up in a smile. Your mind is quite good. Boundless sword intent flowed around Qin Yu's body. He asked, what is the soul-splitting mystic art? Yu Qi said, this is a secret art of the demonic path. Only powerhouses at the divine soul realm and above can successfully practice it. Afterwards, their soul can be separated and attached to another body, forming a supernatural power similar to an avatar. Qin Yu's complexion turned ugly. In other words, even if I kill him, Heaven-Seek Demon will still be fine? Yuqi helplessly nodded. Heaven-Seek Old Demon lightly said, Qin Yu, I have never underestimated you, so how could I not be on guard against you today? Killing me won't be so simple. Suddenly, a cruel aura erupted from his body, like a volcano erupting. Yuqi lifted a hand and pointed. An invisible strength arrived from nothingness, covering Heaven-Seek Old Demon's mortal body. That cruel aura instantly quieted down. Yuqi let out a breath, her face paling. Qin Yu, you owe me another favor. Qin Yu said in a low voice. Have you caught him? Yuqi sneered. If I personally go, I will naturally capture him. She looked at Heaven-Seek Old Demon. You can delay for time to self-detonate, but I also need time to prepare this blood-soul curse. As her voice fell, countless blood-red runes appeared on the surface of Heaven-Seek Old Demon's body before vanishing. Heaven-Seek Old Demon paled. He sneered, My soul-splitting mystic art has reached large success. My soul has completely separated from my main body, so what does it matter if I stay here? Do you think a little girl like you has a way to injure me? Yuqi sighed. Large success of the soul-splitting mystic art. How fierce. I might not have a way to do it, but that doesn't mean I can't. She waved her hand. Go. Send him in. Qin Yu grabbed on a Heaven-Seek Old Demon and flew underground. In the surroundings, the Northern Dynasty cultivators that had been drawn over were all stunned. They had all seen what happened just now with their own eyes. Although the specifics were a bit blurry, they understood the general meaning. The black-robed youth had deliberately lured his opponent here. They didn't know much about Heaven-Seek Old Demon's reputation, but Qin Yu's name seemed quite familiar. Finally, some Northern Dynasty cultivators recalled the peak battle that occurred in Immortal Eclipse Valley. Their complexions paled. In particular, those that had participated in the Great Search and hadn't found anything were left. At this time, they were completely stunned. Seeing Qin Yu and the others enter the land of sealed demons, it was unknown who was the first to turn around, but in the blink of an eye, all of the Northern Dynasty cultivators that had gathered here ran away. What nonsense! If they stayed here, did they want to settle accounts with them later? He rushed underground. After a moment, Qin Yu appeared outside a pitch-black cave. Yuqi's complexion was dignified. Throw him in. Qin Yu took a deep breath. Get ready. After throwing Heaven-Seek Old Demon out, he turned and grabbed onto Yuqi. Then, he ignited the blood escape art and howled away. Chapter 270. Whoosh! A crimson beam of light shot out from the ground. Without pausing, it continued to explode outwards. In the next moment, the earth rumbled and the air trembled, distorting. Bang! The entire earth exploded. A terrifying strength sent endless amounts of mud and stone into the air, setting off monstrous waves. The speed was astonishing as it caught up in the blink of an eye. Qin Yu flicked his sleeves. The 5-element swords rapidly spun. White, black, blue, red, yellow. These 5 colors wove together into a vortex of swords that shattered the waves of mud and stone. But wrapped within, there was an invisible strength that the 5-element swords couldn't cut through. It directly marked Qin Yu's body. With a stuffy cough, Qin Yu's complexion paled. But he didn't stop. He raced out of the range of the shockwave. Ha! He fell to the ground and staggered. Qin Yu turned around to see that the land of sealed demons for hundreds of miles had turned into a horrifying pit. He could foresee that as time passed, the world's rainwater would gather and this pit would turn into a massive lake. Yuqi anxiously said, Qin Yu, are you all right? She turned to look behind her, but was stopped by Qin Yu. I'm fine. Let me see. Are you afraid that I'll take advantage of you? Although her words were a bit roguish, her eyes flashed with a firm light. Qin Yu frowned and turned around. The black robes were intact, but they seemed to be wet and stuck to his body. Yuqi bit her lips. She carefully untied the black robes and slowly pulled them down. Qin Yu frowned. Yuqi's eyes widened. As the black robes were torn apart from his flesh, Qin Yu's back was covered in blood. Black energy lingered on the surface of the wound. Faint traces of the curse aura caused one's soul to tremble. Qin Yu Qi revealed a panicked expression. This is the curse aura of the land of sealed demons. You have been contaminated by the curse aura. Qin Yu put on the black robes. I'm fine. How can you be fine? This is the curse of the land of sealed demons. You don't understand. Once you are contaminated, Yu Qi hesitated, her eyes filled with worry. Qin Yu's eyes warmed. He lightly said, I once crossed tribulation in the land of sealed demons. These words came without rhyme or reason. Yu Qi was startled and her eyes brightened. Because of the existence of the curse power within the land of sealed demons, it was rejected by the heavens and earth. The might of the heavenly tribulation that descended here would increase by 10 times. If Qin Yu was able to emerge unscathed, then he must have some other hidden card. For him to say such a thing, could it be that this trump card could counter the power of curses? Yu Qi seriously looked at him. It was only when she saw that he was calm that she relaxed. She realized her nervousness and blushed. She coldly snorted. I never thought you would have such methods. This woman was anxious just now, but now she's acting tsundere again. Qin Yu shook his head, ignoring her. He turned and walked away. Yu Qi called out several times. Seeing that Qin Yu didn't turn around, she was immediately enraged. Qin Yu, don't forget that it was me who helped you kill the demon monarch and heaven-seek demon. Don't forget this kindness. She chased after Qin Yu and fiercely threatened him, telling him that he would remember Miss Yu Qi's kindness and that he would repay her in the future. She stared at Qin Yu for several moments and then suddenly said, You must have sensed the power of the curse, so why didn't you teleport away? I know you can do it. Qin Yu lightly said, Carrying you is too heavy. Yu Qi clenched her teeth. Then you can throw me away. I was flustered and forgot. Yu Qi stomped her feet in anger. But as she looked at Qin Yu's back, she couldn't help but smile. Little man, it seems that you still care about me in your heart. Humph. Because of this, I will be magnanimous and not lower myself to your level. At the bottom of the crater formed by the land of sealed demons, a gray stone flashed with a dark light before returning to silence. Walala, underground spring water gushed out, soon submerging it. Immortal Eclipse Valley. Qin Yu sat down cross-legged. On his bare back, the terrifying wounds formed by the power of the curse began to rapidly heal. Faint traces of gray aura gathered on his right index finger, causing its surface to shine with a crystalline light, making it seem a bit more pure and exquisite. Qin Yu lifted his hand and looked at his particularly beautiful finger. He revealed a helpless smile. Who would have thought that this finger of his contained a poison that even he feared? No, this was no longer a simple poison. After mixing in the power of the curse, there was a clear change in the poison. It was now tainted with a curse attribute. Perhaps calling it a cursed fingertip would be more accurate. Qin Yu shook his head, suppressing these thoughts. He pushed open the door and left. Bright sunlight sprinkled down on his body, warm and calm. Ningling's figure subconsciously appeared in Qin Yu's mind. When they first separated, she had determined that they would never meet again in this life. But now, this was about to be broken. With this thought in mind, a faint smile crept onto his lips. Humph! Why are you smiling so brightly? Who are you thinking of? Yu Qi coldly snorted, holding on to Guling, as she appeared. Qin Yu smiled, ignoring her provocation. Ling, Yu Qi should have already told you. Guling, eyes reddened. She squeezed out a smile. Big sister Yu Qi told me. Big brother, you can rest assured. I will cultivate hard. There were some words she didn't say. Only by cultivating hard and becoming strong enough would she have the chance to enter the land of divinity and demons and see her big brother Qin Yu again. Qin Yu smiled. Ling, be a good girl. I guarantee you that if there's a chance in the future, I will definitely bring you there. I believe in Big Brother. Yu Qi sighed inwardly. My silly Ling, not everyone has the qualifications to enter the land of divinity and demons. Qin wasn't bad. He cultivated the demon body, and his destiny was astonishing. But in the land of divinity and demons, there were countless people more outstanding than him. Unless he could really rise up and become a truly great figure, otherwise, let alone bringing you back, it would be extremely difficult for him to do so. Qin said some more words to Gu Ling, doing his best to comfort her. But he could see that beneath this girl's forced smile was a hidden sorrow. But whether it was because of Ning Ling or because he wanted to pursue the road of the great Tao, he had to go to the land of divinity and demons. After entrusting Yu Qi to accompany her, Qin Yu turned and left. Pill Crucible sighed. Junior apprentice brother, you must leave. Qin Yu cupped his hands together. Yes, senior apprentice brother. Pill Crucible nodded. To you, this world is indeed a bit small. Go to the land of divinity and demons. That is the place where you should freely roam. I wish you the best of luck in the future, and I wish you the best in your cultivation. Qin Yu smiled. Thank you, senior apprentice brother. I believe that you will definitely be able to break into divine soul. At that time, you and I will be able to meet again in the land of divinity and demons. Pill Crucible laughed. Great. Qin Yu stood up. There is one more matter that I must trouble senior apprentice brother with. I don't know where the demonic past myriad demon caves are hidden, but I have a friend named Shan Wugu who has been exiled by the demon monarch. I asked that senior apprentice brother help me find the myriad demon caves and rescue him. With a flick of his sleeves, the Saint Furnace he had seized from the sea region appeared. I will have to trouble senior apprentice brother to help me pass this along to him. Pill Crucible frowned. The myriad demon caves are a limitless space. Unless I break into divine soul, I won't be able to rush into it in a short period of time. Qin Yu thought for a moment. Then I asked senior apprentice brother to find the myriad demon caves and toss the furnace inside. Pill Crucible didn't ask further. I will do this as soon as possible. Qin Yu cupped his hands together in thanks and bid his farewells. Zhang Li's eyes were filled with praise and admiration. To be able to cultivate the 5-element swords, Qin Yu, you could be considered the #1 sword cultivator in the world. I no longer have anything else I can pass on to you. Before we part, I hope that you can truly carry forward my sword path and become a sword grandmaster of your generation. A sword grandmaster was the leader of all sword cultivators in the world. That referred to the land of divinity and demons. This was simply an unattainable hope. If the cultivators of the land of divinity and demons were to know that in this barren land of exiles, there was actually someone who dared to say that he could become a sword grandmaster, they would likely laugh their heads off. Qin Yu had a serious expression. He cupped his hands together and said, Senior Jiang, rest assured that Qin Yu will do everything in his power to accomplish this goal. The nascent soul that had seemed so far away in the past had now been achieved. So what if he was a sword grandmaster? He might be able to do it. Jiang Li smiled in satisfaction. As he praised Qin Yu inwardly, he also felt a bit sad. In his life, reaching his current boundary was already his limit. To Jiang Li, who was obsessed with the sword path and had dedicated his life to it, this was a tremendous pain and torture. Luckily, his faith in the sword path continued on Qin Yu's body. He would step into the land of divinity and demons and constantly chase after the peak of the sword path. Taoist one curled his lips. He pretended to be calm, but there was envy in his eyes. The land of divinity and demons cannot be compared to this place. It is best to be careful and not be too arrogant, lest you lose your life. Qin Yu cupped his hands together. I thank Senior Wang for the advice. He paused for a moment and then continued to say, Senior is not my master, but you are no different from my master. I have no idea when we will meet again, so I ask Senior to accept my defeat. He deeply bowed. Taoist Wang's eyes were moved. He turned and waved his hand. Hurry and leave. Isn't it just the land of divinity and demons? I might have a chance to go. Qin Yu smiled. He turned and left. On this day, without anyone seeing them off, Qin Yu and Yu Qi quietly left Immortal Eclipse Valley. Gu Ling hid in her room, her face covered in tears. But her red eyes gradually revealed a firm resolve. Strong winds blew against his face. Qin silently walked forwards. Yuqi knew that it was inevitable that his emotions would fall, so she quietly followed behind. Suddenly, Qin said, "Yuqi, do you know the Gold Noble family?" Yuqi's eyes revealed a bit of guilt. "I know a little. What about it?" "I have a friend in the Gold Noble family. Not too long ago, she also went to the land of divinity and demons." Qin turned around. "I forgot. You should know her. She is Ning Ling." He revealed a light smile and continued to say, "She is still alive." Yuqi coldly sneered. Qin glanced at her. He knew that Yuqi and Ning Ling didn't get along and had even tried to kill her in the past. But that was all in the past, and he didn't want to pursue it. He directly said, "I want to ask you, how strong is the immortal sect in the land of divinity and demons?" Yuqi frowned. "Immortal sect?" She looked at Qin, a thoughtful look on her face. "No wonder you were able to smoothly break into nascent soul. So it was because of her." She took a deep breath and said, "Qin, if Ning Ling goes to the immortal sect, I must warn you not to approach her again. Otherwise, you will definitely die." Qin expression was light. Yuqi sneered. "Do you think I'm lying to you? The immortal sect stands side by side with the demonic path. They are both existences in the land of divinity and demons, existences that stand above the highest heavens. They have tens of millions of subordinates, and their sphere of influence is infinite. They control countries and governments, and their strength far surpasses your imagination. Let alone the fact that you only have a nascent soul cultivation. Even if you were a divine soul or Blue Sea Realm Supreme Elder, you would still be nothing but an ant in front of the immortal sect. Moreover, you are someone of my demonic path. The immortals and demons have stood against each other for endless years. If Ning Ling enters the immortal sect, then the two of you will belong to two different worlds. Above nascent soul, when the soul awakens and comes into contact with the rules of the world, that is the divine soul realm. Once the divine soul realm goes a step further, that is the Blue Sea realm. At this realm, one can control the spiritual strength of the world, and with every movement one makes, one can change the world. Even a blue sea is an ant. The strength of the immortal sect is truly terrifying." Qin expression was dignified, but there was no fear in his eyes, only calm and steady. Yuqi clenched her teeth. "Don't bring about your own destruction." Qin let out a long breath. "Don't worry, I am very patient. I can wait." Yuqi mocked. "Do you think you can become a character that can suppress the immortal sect? Otherwise, even if you wait for 1,000 or 10,000 years, what can you do?" Qin was silent for a moment. "Why not?" Yuqi was stunned. It was only then that she realized what he had said. Her entire body stiffened and her mind went blank. This fellow, he really dared to say such things. The land of divinity and demons was incomparably vast. There were dozens of countries that stood side by side, and there were tens of thousands of sects and family clans. Among them, those with heaven-gifted talents and monstrous destinies were few and far between. Of these people, which one of them wasn't a proud son of heaven? Even the most outstanding of them didn't dare to say that they would become a peerless overlord that could suppress the immortal sect in the future. Qin, the ignorant are fearless. Yuqi sighed and looked at him with contempt. But as she swept her eyes over him and saw his calm expression, she couldn't help but think in the depths of her heart. What if this fellow succeeded? Pa. How could that be possible? I must be crazy. 3 days later, Qin and Yuqi appeared in a grand underground palace. Looking at the architectural style, it was unknown just how long it had existed for. In the underground palace, there was a massive transmission array. Even with Qin array formation cultivation, he couldn't understand it at all. From this, one could see just how profound it was. After Yuqi finished arranging it, there was a light cry and the array formation slowly revolved. A rich and dazzling divine light illuminated the entire underground palace. Her complexion paled and her eyes became a bit lax. The cost of filling up the transmission array had completely emptied her. She clenched her teeth and said, Let's go in. Chinyu didn't look at her. He took a deep breath and stepped into the transmission array. Land of divinity and demons, immortal sect. I'm coming. Hum. Chapter 271. 5 colors, 7 colors, 9 colors, all sorts of lights bloomed in front of him, colliding and fusing together. It was like he was rushing through the most bumpy road in the world. There was a tearing strength all around him, and even with Qin Yu's powerful demon body, he still felt a stabbing pain. Luckily, there was a faint layer of light protecting his body. Otherwise, Qin Yu didn't doubt that these bright and chaotic colors would instantly tear him to pieces. Turning her head, Yu Qi's complexion paled. But during the transmission, she didn't dare to use any strength to defend herself. After all, once she interfered with the transmission process, no one knew what would happen. As if feeling Qin Yu's eyes, she looked up and viciously said, "What are you standing around for? Why aren't you hugging me? It's not like you haven't done it before. So why are you pretending to be a gentleman?" Qin Yu had a helpless expression. These words made it seem as if he had been harboring evil intentions all this time. What an unjust accusation. But at this time, he could only reach out and pull her into his chest. A light fragrance entered his nose and that soft and tender body. Although he didn't want to admit it, whether it was the feeling or the mind, it could be called perfect. Yu Qi lowered her head and placed it against Qin Yu's chest. Listening to his powerful heartbeat and feeling the warmth from him, she smiled. The transmission process took a long time. Just as Qin Yu was wondering whether there was a problem somewhere, the brilliant colors began to rapidly fade away. Then, light appeared. Yu Qi used a bit of strength to stand up from his chest. She happily said, "We've arrived." Shwa. Everything in front of him suddenly brightened. The radiant light shined down on his body, causing Qin Yu's eyes to sting. He couldn't help but narrow his eyes. Only after his vision blurred was he able to clearly see where he was. This was an incomparably massive square paved with some sort of blue stone. The square was densely packed with dozens of transmission arrays. He and Yu Qi were in one of them. There were crystal signboards that displayed all sorts of scenes. There were beautiful and bustling scenes, scenes of slaughter and war, scenes of raging rivers roaring. But at this time, a gentle female voice clearly entered Qin Yu's ears. "Welcome to the land of divinity and demons." As he was startled, there was a violent explosion above his head, a roar like billowing thunder. He looked up to see a strange bird covered in golden scales with an incomparably fierce gaze. It was like a blazing meteor beneath the bright sunlight as it smashed into the invisible barrier. Resplendent divine light suddenly erupted, rising and falling like monstrous waves. With the point of collision as the center, it rushed towards the entire city. The force of this collision was enough to split apart 100 great rivers. But as it passed through the city, it was slowly erased by the invisible barrier. In the end, it disappeared, unable to cause the slightest bit of damage to the city. Qin Yu stiffened. His pupils violently shrank, and his heart filled with horror. When he saw the strange bird, he felt as if he had been swept by its gaze. Just a single glance was enough to make him feel as if he had fallen into an icy cavern. He couldn't even think. Although he didn't know what sort of terrifying killing power the strange bird's seemingly useless strike contained, he didn't doubt that this strike was enough to instantly crush him to powder. A cold voice sounded in their ears. "Where did you come from?" Qin Yu regained his composure. He saw that outside the transmission array, several soldiers were looking at him with cold expressions. This glance caused his heart to skip a beat. Of these soldiers, the weakest was at the 6th level of Golden Core, and the one leading them was a nascent soul realm cultivator. Although he was only at the middle nascent soul realm, Qin, you could still feel a faint threat from him. Yu Qi hurriedly said, "We are people from the Yu family. We came from a land of exiles. I have already notified my family, and someone will soon come to pick us up." She glanced at the strange bird that was flapping its wings and flying away. Her eyes were dignified. The monster beast attacks have begun again. As the soldier heard this, He clearly relaxed a great deal. He nodded. It hasn't been peaceful recently. There are always Beast King level fellows appearing. Since you're cultivators of the U family, you should understand the rules. Yuchi nodded. We will wait in the suspension area for the family to pick us up. The soldier waved his hand. A subordinate stepped out and brought Yuchi and Chinyu away. Wait here and don't move around. With a few words, the soldier turned and hurried away. Chinyu's eyes had been looking all around. Only now did he slowly turn away. His expression was calm, but in the lake of his heart, raging waves were already rising. The land of divinity and demons. This was the land of divinity and demons. A single strike from that terrifying strange bird was enough to kill him thousands of times over. In this square, there were over a dozen nascent soul soldiers. Moreover, he could faintly sense two terrifying auras. Even with Qin Yu's current cultivation, he still felt an incomparable dread. It was clear they were powerhouses guarding this place. And this was only a mere square. Looking around, the entire city seemed boundless. Let alone the human cities of the Southern Empire and Northern Dynasty, even the capital city of the sea races deep in the sea region couldn't compare with this city. Yuchi was keenly aware of Qin Yu's silence. Her thoughts stirred, and she understood what he was thinking. She said in a soft voice, "Don't underestimate yourself. There are indeed countless powerhouses in the land of divinity and demons, but the richness of the heaven and earth spiritual strength here is not something that the land of exiles can compare with. For you to have your current achievements in the land of exiles, even in the land of divinity and demons, that is already dazzling enough." Qin Yu's heart warmed. He nodded, "I'm fine." Indeed, as Yuchi said, the heaven and earth spiritual strength in the land of divinity and demons had reached an inconceivably rich boundary. The only place Qin Yu had ever seen that could compare with it was Immortal Eclipse Valley, the domain formed by the Radiant Redwood. If one lived in such an environment all year round, it would be difficult for their cultivation not to rise by leaps and bounds. But it was because of this that Qin Yu became increasingly aware of just how many terrifying powerhouses could be born in the land of divinity and demons. A vast and endless world, extremely rich heaven and earth spiritual strength, accumulated over trillions of years. No wonder Yuchi had such an expression when he said that it wasn't necessarily impossible for him to become a sword ancestor. Now, even Qin Yu thought about it. He felt he was a bit too arrogant. In the paused area, in several transmission arrays, besides Yuchi and Qin Yu, there were 6 other cultivators waiting. Suddenly, one of the pale-faced cultivators roared out in pain. His body rapidly expanded, and sharp claws grew out from his hands and feet. His face elongated, and a large mouth filled with ferocious fangs that flashed with a bloodthirsty cold light. This was a giant 2-legged wolf. Roar! This was clearly a cultivator that had transformed into a monster beast. With a loud roar, it rushed towards the transmission array. "Stop it! Kill!" The squad of soldiers closest to it all drew their swords and slashed forwards. Bang! A cruel and ruthless sword intent carried with it a monstrous killing intent. It condensed into a waterfall as it slashed downwards. The giant wolf cried out miserably as it was sent flying backwards by the sword light. But what was terrifying was that such a powerful sword light was only able to tear open a wound on its abdomen. Moreover, the flesh and blood around the wound began to wriggle as if it wanted to regenerate. Seeing that it could no longer destroy the transmission array, the giant wolf turned around. Its bloodthirsty eyes covered the several people in the paused area. Then its hind legs pushed outwards, and it shot forwards like a bolt of lightning. Ah! With a miserable scream, the cultivator closest to the giant wolf was bitten in half. Its saliva seemed to contain some sort of poison. The late Golden Core cultivator screamed out in pain as his body turned pitch black, and he died. Shwa! The giant wolf didn't stop. It rushed towards the next person. In the blink of an eye, 2 female cultivators were torn to pieces. One of them was a young girl. Her eyes were wide open, filled with fear and unwillingness. She never imagined that she would die so soon after arriving in the land of divinity and demons. The giant wolf gasped for breath. It swept its eyes around. The remaining people were all at the nascent soul realm. Only the black-robed boy in front of it had the weakest aura. First it would kill him, and then the woman beside him. Finally, it would blow itself up. Then it would kill enough. The giant wolf leapt forwards, a fierce light flashing in its eyes, as if it could already see the black-robed boy's head severed from his body. But what it didn't understand was, why wasn't he afraid? Bang! Radiant sword light erupted. White, black, blue, red, and yellow vortexes sucked the giant wolf in. Then, countless sword phantoms completely submerged it. Pitiful cries rang out again and again. The giant wolf wanted to escape, but couldn't break free from the five-colored vortex. Its cries gradually faded away until they vanished. Chinyu flicked his sleeves, and the five element swords vanished. The wolf corpse fell to the ground, its wounds crisscrossing across its body. One of its eyeballs had been cut open, and the remaining eye was filled with pain and despair. A squad of soldiers rushed over. They first inspected the wolf corpse and determined that it was dead. One of them cupped his hands together and said, "Thank you for helping us. May I ask where you come from, and if you are willing to join my Southern Overwatch Pass army?" Chinyu was startled. Yuchi spoke up. "Reporting to Captain, fellow Taoist Qin is a genius that my Yu family discovered in the land of exiles. He is temporarily unable to serve in the army." The soldier's eyes brightened. The land of exiles? As he looked at Chinyu, there was a bit more appreciation in his eyes. For someone to be able to cultivate such strength in such a barren land of heaven and earth spiritual strength, one could imagine how high his talent was. After arriving at the land of divinity and demons, he was sure to soar into the heavens. The Yu family is lucky. The man cupped his hands together. "Fellow Taoist Qin, I am the Southern Overwatch Pass's Tiger Howl Army's Commandant Tianyan. You have helped me greatly today. If you have any need in the future, you can look for me at any time." He turned and led his subordinates away. The surrounding people all looked at Chinyu with envy in their eyes. A moment later, the Yu family cultivators arrived. It was unknown where they had learned of what happened just now, but their attitude towards Qin Yu is incomparably gentle. "Fellow Taoist Qin has come from afar, so I'm sure you must be tired. Please follow us back and rest for several days." The cultivator who spoke was called Yuhan. According to blood relations, he was Yu Chi's cousin. But, looking at the way they nodded, it was clear their relationship was ordinary. As a newcomer, he naturally listened to others' arrangements. Chinyu nodded, not saying much. With the Yu family members leading the way, they smoothly left the square. After leaving the range of the soldiers, a carriage stopped on the side of the road. At first glance, flowers bloomed like brocade. Rows upon rows of buildings flashed with countless neon lights. It was a dizzying sight. "Fellow Taoist Qin, please." Yuhan smiled. The carriage didn't have any reins and naturally didn't need to be pulled. The surface of the carriage was engraved with runes of array formations that shined with a faint light. Chinyu knew that before entering the Yu family, Yuhan would definitely ask Yuchi first. He stepped into the carriage and closed the door behind him. As soon as the door closed, there was no longer any sound from the outside world. A light fragrance floated in the air, making one feel refreshed. Looking around, there wasn't a single part of the carriage that wasn't exquisite. The table in front of him, the fur beneath him, everything was pleasing to the eye. In particular, there was a soft, singing voice that came from somewhere, adding even more enjoyment to the experience. Soon, the carriage gently shook and began to move forward without making the least bit of noise. If it weren't for the two sides rapidly passing by, it would have been impossible to feel that it was moving at high speed. Chinyu revealed a look of praise. Not only was the cultivation level of the land of divinity and demons extremely high, but all sorts of things derived from it were also unheard of. But soon, he turned his eyes away from these new and interesting things, and a thoughtful look crossed his face. The Yu family had pardoned Yu Chi's sins and brought him into the land of divinity and demons. It was clear they had something they wanted from him. In this world, There were no benefits that came without reason. Although his knowledge was limited, Qin Yu's intuition told him that this was inextricably related to him cultivating the demon body. In the past, Yu Qi's change in attitude was also because of the demon body. Moreover, she had mentioned that the demon body seemed to have an extraordinary significance to the demonic path. If so, then there shouldn't be any dangers. The scenery outside the window passed faster and faster. The Yu family caravan seemed to have entered a highway. But even in this state, it took over an hour before they arrived at the Yu family. The caravan stopped. After the door opened, Qin Yu stepped out. This was a rather tranquil residential area. The entire street was straight and wide, and both sides of the road were filled with parasol trees. Sunlight shone through the wide leaves and onto the ground. Under the bright beams of light, there were mottled spots. The Yu family's doors were already open. Several cultivators were waiting with smiles on their faces. They stepped forwards and said, "I presume this must be fellow Taoist Qin Yu? This is our first time meeting. I am Yu Yuanming, Yu Qi's uncle." Yu Qi revealed an excited expression for the first time. She respectfully bowed. "Greetings, uncle." Qin Yu knew that this person was relatively trustworthy. He cupped his hands together and said, "Qin Yu greets senior." It wasn't an exaggeration to call him senior. Yu Yuanming's aura fluctuated, faintly blending into the world. Although he restrained his aura, one could still feel a faint pressure. This was a divine soul realm cultivator. This was the first divine soul that Qin Yu had seen since entering the land of divinity and demons. His aura was as deep as the sea and unfathomably powerful. Yu Yuanming smiled and nodded. "Fellow Taoist Qin Yu, there is no need to be so polite. With your status in the demonic path, you should automatically rise a level and treat me as an equal." After he finished speaking, he nodded to Yu Qi. "You did well this time. The clan has already written off the previous matters. Be careful in the future and don't make any more mistakes." Yu Qi respectfully said, "Yes, uncle." Yu Yuanming reached out a hand to grab Qin Yu. "Let's go. The banquet is being prepared, and the patriarch and the others are already impatient to see you. Hurry and wash up." This time, Qin Yu was truly overwhelmed by the favor. A divine soul realm cultivator had personally come out to greet him. For the Yu family to arrange a grand banquet, and for the patriarch to personally attend, it was likely that all the powerhouses of the clan would arrive. This treatment was simply unimaginably high. To sum up the Yu family's residence, there was only one word to describe it: big. It wasn't a normal size. Qin Yu felt that if he were to walk, he might not even be able to walk out in a day. Luckily, there seemed to be some exquisite array formations arranged around the residence. Although it looked like it was extremely far away, it only took several steps to reach it. Qin Yu's residence was an exquisite courtyard. The maids, manservants, and others had already been arranged. Yu Yuanming smiled. "Fellow Taoist Qin, please. I will bring Yu Qi away first. I will come back to pick you up later." As he spoke, he turned and left. Yu Qi gave Qin Yu a reassuring look and followed him. "Greetings, my lord." In the courtyard, 12 beautiful maids and 12 manservants fell to their knees. Qin Yu waved his hand. "Rise." Chapter 272. After changing into the robes prepared by the Yu family, Qin Yu pushed open the door. The eyes of the maid, guarding outside, brightened. She thought that this robe was a good match for the lord. Yu Yuanming hadn't arrived yet, so there were likely many things he wanted to ask Yu Qi. Qin Yu sat down in the pavilion. Without needing to order anything, the maids began to serve him refreshments and tea. He didn't eat the refreshments, but the tea was good tea. The fragrance lingered in his mouth, making him feel refreshed. Even a magic power circulating within his body became a little more lively. It was obvious that this tea was extraordinary. For them to casually serve this spirit tea to guests, one reason was because the Yu family had a deep background, but the more important reason was because there were many heavenly materials in the land of divinity and demons. With rich heaven and earth spiritual strength, there would naturally be more treasures born. This was obvious. Qin Yu's eyes brightened. With the little blue lamp in hand, the more heaven and earth treasures there were, the more lucky chances there would be. Once he stabilized his footing in the land of divinity and demons, he would be able to attempt alchemy. At this time, there was a knock on the courtyard doors. Qin Yu regained his composure and nodded to the maid beside him. He stood up and walked out. But the person outside wasn't Yu Yuanming or Yu Qi, but a woman he didn't recognize. She didn't wear any makeup, but her soft and tender skin was the best form of decoration. She was incomparably beautiful. Seeing Qin Yu, her face blushed red. She bowed and said, "Yu Xiuxiu greets honored guest. I shouldn't disturb your rest, but a little beast I raise seems to have run in. It is injured, so I had no choice but to disturb you. I hope honored guest can forgive me." Qin Yu cupped his hands across his chest. "It's no problem. Miss, please come in and look for it." Yu Xiuxiu revealed a grateful expression. "Thank you, honored guest." She stepped in and took out a jade flute. Soft notes flew out from it, fluttering in the breeze. Her hair and skirt fluttered in the wind, like a beautiful painting. Qin Yu revealed a look of appreciation. The land of divinity and demons was truly a land of great heroes. Even a random woman could have such a moving appearance. Yu Xiuxiu seemed to sense Qin Yu's gaze. She blushed and lowered her head, a trace of satisfaction in her eyes. After some time, there was a rustling sound and a small snow-white beast ran out from somewhere. It was limping. It was indeed injured. Yu Xiuxiu was pleasantly surprised. "Little white." Then he puffed up his cheeks and said fiercely, "You little thing, you're still running around when you're injured. If you dare to do this again, I'll teach you a lesson." As she finished speaking, she seemed to think of Qin Yu, and her face flushed red. Qin Yu smiled, not saying anything. The sound of footsteps came from the courtyard gate. Yu Qi's expression was light as she walked in. But when she saw the situation in the courtyard, her face stiffened and then became cold. Yu Xiuxiu turned around, a look of pleasant surprise on her face. "Big sister Yu Qi, you really came back. I'm so happy." While saying that, he quickly walked over, wanted to grab Yu Qi's hand, but she dodged his hand. His smiling face could not help but slightly falter. Yu Qi coldly said, "I dare not trouble younger sister to worry about me. I am very well." A trace of panic flashed across Yu Xiuxiu's eyes. "What's wrong, sister?" Yu Qi sucked in a deep breath. Little sister knows in her heart, there is no need for me to say more. Glancing at the little beast in her arms, a look of disdain flashed in his eyes. "I haven't seen you for so many years, but you're still the same as before. You'd better change in the future, lest this little thing suffers too much." As he finished speaking, he ignored Yu Xiuxiu's stiff expression and directly said, "Qin Yu, Uncle is waiting for you." He turned and walked away. Qin Yu's thoughts stirred. He cupped his hands together towards Yu Xiuxiu and followed. The courtyard immediately fell silent. In Yu Xiuxiu's arms, the little snow-white beast suddenly cried out pitifully. But it didn't dare to struggle. Its body shivered. Its injured leg had already been broken. Yu Xiuxiu lowered her head, her eyes gentle as she looked at it. She let go of its hand and gently stroked its fur. "Why are you always so disobedient? Why do you make me feel so disgusted?" She walked out, her voice light. "Just now, none of you saw anything or heard anything." The maids and servants in the courtyard all fell to their knees. They trembled as they said, "Yes, Miss Xiuxiu." Qin Yu caught up to Yu Qi. He glanced at her icy, cold expression. "What? Do you have some grudge with this Yu family, miss? You didn't even give her any face and swung at her." Yu Qi ruthlessly glared at him. "Do you feel sorry for her?" Qin Yu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "Why would I feel sorry for her? I don't even know her." Yu Qi coldly snorted. After several breaths of silence, she said, "From now on, you had best stay far away from her." She hesitated for a moment and continued to say, "Although I don't have concrete evidence, when I was convicted and nearly died after entering the land of sealed demons, I'm afraid that was all the work of my sweet and gentle little sister." Her face was expressionless, but a cold light shined in her eyes. Qin Yu frowned. He nodded. I understand. For some unknown reason, Yuchi relaxed upon hearing Chinyu's reply. She hurriedly said, all right, let's go. There are many people waiting for you. Soon, they saw Yu Yuanming. This divine soul realm master was clearly much closer to Chinyu. He patted Chinyu's shoulder and glanced at Yuchi. He had an expression that said, we're on the same side, so there's no need to be polite. This left Chinyu puzzled. He turned to look at Yuchi, but she had her head lowered like an ostrich. Within the Yu family's main hall, the grand banquet had already been prepared. A magnificent crystal chandelier illuminated the entire hall. Behind nearly 100 tables, all the important figures of the Yu family were gathered. When Yu Yuanming brought Chinyu into the main hall, a loud laugh echoed out. Nephew Chinyu, you've made me wait for a long time. Now, you'll have to drink as punishment. The one who laughed wore purple robes, and his hair was neatly combed. His expression was friendly, but the aura he emitted caused Chinyu's heart to skip a beat. Like an abyss, limitless and endless. Chinyu was able to sense a little of Yu Yuanming's strength, but facing this person, he had no idea just how deep he was. It was like a great sea facing him. Yu Yuanming smiled. Chinyu, this is my Yu family's patriarch, Yu Yuanhu. Chinyu gathered his thoughts and respectfully bowed. Chinyu greets the patriarch. Yu Yuanhu didn't stop him and accepted his bow. To be able to receive a bow from nephew today, perhaps in the years to come, this will be something I can brag about to others. Nephew, come and have a taste of my Yu family's dishes and wine. Let's see whether or not they suit your tastes. Chinyu's seat was extremely close to the front, just to the left of Yu Yuanhu. Behind several tables nearby, Yu family master smiled and nodded. The atmosphere of the entire banquet was harmonious. Chinyu became acquainted with many Yu family cultivators, and there was no need to mention the taste of the food and wine. From start to finish, no one mentioned anything other than eating, drinking, and playing. This surprised Chinyu, but he soon suppressed these thoughts. Since the Yu family wasn't in a hurry, he naturally wasn't in a hurry either. He could take advantage of this chance to adapt to life in the land of divinity and demons as soon as possible. Everyone dispersed. After politely declining the beautiful female cultivator that Yu Yuanhu sent him, Chinyu bid his farewells and left. Yuchi brought him back to his residence. She lightly coughed. At least you have some self-awareness. You didn't accept the beauty that the patriarch sent you, otherwise others will surely look down on you. In this world, there is no such thing as a powerhouse that is greedy for beauty. Chinyu revealed a helpless expression. In your eyes, am I such a person? Yuchi curled her lips. That's hard to say. Her words were filled with mockery, but she was secretly happy in her heart. After all, the beauty that the patriarch sent out was a woman that cultivated exquisite charm techniques. Just now, many people in the hall had been staring at her, but Chinyu's complexion hadn't changed at all. It was clear he was feeling very calm. Humph, what am I happy for? This fellow is definitely being so honest because of Ningling. Thinking of this, Yuchi's mood turned for the worse. She fiercely glared at Chinyu and quickened her steps. This was inexplicable. What the hell was going on? Chinyu shook his head and followed behind. For the next several days, Chinyu lived a comfortable life. The entire Yu family treated him as an honored guest and entertained him in an endless stream. Because of this, he gradually gained a greater understanding of the land of divinity and demons. Although he hadn't touched upon the higher levels, he was already familiar with the basic necessities of life. And after understanding all of this, Chinyu finally understood that the land of divinity and demons was far too different from the world he came from. In the Sea region and the Gold Noble family, cultivation products that could allow long-distance calls had long since become common. Moreover, they were so new that it was hard to accept them. What Chinyu held in his hand was a transparent crystal that was half a finger thick and the size of an adult's palm. In the land of divinity and demons, it was called a hand phone and was explained as a treasure that could communicate with one another. Well, this explanation was a bit far-fetched, but who knew what was going on? It was called a hand phone. Not only could this thing make calls, but it could also pass through an array formation and receive signals from signal towers, transforming them into all sorts of things. For instance, the storytelling scenes that Chinyu saw in the bathroom were called TV series. They were specially filmed by cultivators, and as soon as they appeared, they became popular in the various countries. The main characters in the TV series would attract countless fans and be praised and chased by countless cultivators. In particular, there were some women who successfully married into rich and powerful families, turning from sparrows into phoenixes. Because of this, they attracted even more beautiful women to throw themselves into the TV series. This caused the TV series to explode, and this chain reaction attracted even more viewers. Of course, there were many other things. Chinyu felt as if his brain wasn't enough to process them all. He couldn't help but sigh inwardly. The cultivators of the land of divinity and demons really knew how to play around. He felt that it would take him a bit more time to adapt to the land of divinity and demons than he expected. Ding, ding, ding. The handphone emitted a pleasant sound. The screen lit up, revealing Yuqi's image. This was a function that only appeared after the two of them exchanged numbers. He placed the phone next to his ear, and Yuqi's voice sounded out. Chinyu, prepare yourself. Tomorrow the clan will open a talent test for you. Talent test? Yuqi revealed a look of surprise. Have you never gone through one before? Although the land of exiles is barren and barren, there are still methods to roughly assess a cultivator's talent. Chinyu fell silent. Could he say that when he joined the Eastern Mountain sect, he was immediately kicked out and became an outer court disciple that did odd jobs and didn't even have the qualifications to undergo a talent test? However, even if he hadn't experienced it, Chinyu was well aware that his talent was absolutely trash. The difficult process of breaking into Golden Core in the past was still vivid in his mind. Sensing his silence, Yuqi's voice became dignified. What problem do you have? Chinyu thought for a moment. Tell me, why do I need to undergo a talent test? Huh. The call was hung up. Chinyu was stunned for a moment. Soon, there was a knock on the courtyard doors, and Yuqi hurried in. After sending away the miscellaneous people, she went straight to the point. Chinyu, is there a problem with your talent? Chinyu bitterly smiled. This woman was truly smart. There was no way to hide this matter, so he nodded and admitted it. Yuqi frowned. How could it be like this? She really couldn't figure it out. In the barren cultivation environment of the land of exiles, if one didn't have an extreme talent, it would be extremely difficult to reach Golden Core, much less nascent soul. Moreover, what Chinyu cultivated was a heaven-defying cultivation method, like the 5-element sword diagram. Chinyu felt his hair stand on end as he was stared at by her. He wryly smiled and said, Maybe my luck is a bit better. Yuqi's heart sank. Just how is your talent? It should be a bit worse. Fine, these words were definitely giving him face. You call it a bit worse? It was simply worse to the end. Yuqi was silent for a long time. Then, she revealed a bitter expression. If that's the case, then things are really bad. Chinyu's heart skipped a beat. What? Could it be that your Yu family has the ability to control my talent? Yuqi shook her head. If you are as they expect and possess astonishing talent, then the Yu family will only be closer to you. They will even disregard any price to draw closer to you. On the other hand, if your talent doesn't satisfy them, I can guarantee that they will fall out with you. Chinyu was silent for several breaths of time. You are also surnamed Yu. Shut up. Is this the time to be thinking about such things? Yuqi angrily said, Your talent isn't good. In the eyes of the Yu family, you have no value at all. Have you ever thought about the result? Yuqi hesitated. She clenched her teeth and said, Chinyu, prepare yourself. If anything goes wrong, immediately escape from the Yu family. Chinyu revealed a dignified expression. Will things reach this step? After all, I am a nascent soul cultivator, and my true cultivation isn't too far away from the divine soul realm. Yuqi bitterly smiled. You don't understand. The land of divinity and demons doesn't lack masters. What it lacks are geniuses. Moreover, you have cultivated the demon body. I also hope that I'm overthinking things. The next day, Yu Yuanming personally knocked on the door, a friendly smile still on his face. It seemed that Yu Qi hadn't told him anything. Or perhaps she still held some hope towards Qin Yu's talent. "Are you ready?" Qin Yu took a deep breath and slowly nodded. Yu Yuanming smiled. "Don't be nervous. This is just a simple test. With your talent, there shouldn't be any problems." Hearing this, Qin Yu bitterly smiled. He thought that there wouldn't be any problems at all. Once the test was over, they would understand. It wasn't that he hadn't thought of escaping from a Yu family ahead of time, but he was the center of attention right now. Perhaps it was because he valued the guards that were sent here, but now they had become shackles. Even if he wanted to escape, he didn't have a chance. He could only take things one step at a time and hope that things wouldn't develop to the point that Yu Qi spoke of. In a grand hall of the Yu family, there was a 9-level crystal pagoda. Sunlight shined down from the ceiling, sprinkling down onto the crystal pagoda, causing it to reflect a dazzling light. Yu Yuanming walked to the side, revealing Qin Yu behind him. In that instant, all eyes gathered on him. Yu Yuanhu laughed. "Nephew Qin, today you will broaden my horizons and let the juniors of the Yu family know what it means to say that there is always someone better out there." The Yu family juniors all revealed looks of indignation. But the cultivators of the land of exiles not only cultivated the demon body, but also had a nascent soul cultivation. Thinking about this, they were secretly shocked and didn't dare to underestimate them. In the crowd, Yu Qi revealed a bit of anxiety, but she didn't dare to reveal it on the surface. Although she had obtained bad news from Qin Yu's mouth, what if he was belittling himself? Chapter 273. In the land of divinity and demons, the 9-level crystal pagoda had a widely spread nickname: Heaven and Earth Stabilizing. Among the many aptitude testing treasures, it was publicly acknowledged to be the most sensitive. It could fairly judge a cultivator's aptitude, and the possibility of a deviation was negligible. Once tested, one's aptitude would be clearly displayed, and one's future achievements would be known. This was why it was known as the Heaven and Earth test. This treasure wasn't easy to create. Even in the land of divinity and demons, it could be called incomparably precious. Although the Southern Overwatch Pass was large, there were only 3 9-level crystal pagodas. One was in the army, and it was specifically used to test soldiers. Outsiders could not come into contact with it at all. The other was the supreme inherited treasure of the Southern Overwatch Pass #1 noble family. Unless one had a close relationship with it, it was difficult to borrow it. Only the third was managed by the largest merchant association in the Southern Overwatch Pass. The Yu family had paid a great price to obtain the right to use it for a short period of time. Yu Yuanhu revealed a dignified expression, anticipation shining deep in his eyes. To be able to cultivate the demon body in the land of exiles and even reach nascent soul, his talent absolutely couldn't be underestimated. If the Yu family could win him over, they wouldn't have to worry about anything for the next 1,000 years. This was an important matter that involved the family's inheritance, so he naturally had to be extremely cautious. He didn't want any accidents to happen. After several breaths of silence, the first level of the 9-level crystal pagoda began to slowly light up. Faint traces of light gathered within the crystal, becoming brighter and brighter. But this lighting speed was a bit too slow. There is no need to mention the juniors of the Yu family, but the high-level figures of the Yu family had all seen the scene of the 9-level crystal pagodas test. Those young geniuses that had the qualifications to use Faltering the Universe had all advanced by leaps and bounds, instantly lighting up several levels. Could it be that Qin Yu was accumulating his strength in preparation to rush towards the peak in one go? With these thoughts in mind, the high-level figures of the Yu family glanced at each other and restrained their thoughts. Time passed bit by bit. Only the first floor of the 9-story crystal pagoda was lit up. Although the light continued to grow stronger, it was obvious that the speed was starting to slow down. The main hall was silent. All the Yu family cultivators had bewildered expressions. It was clear that they felt something was wrong. Yu Qi bitterly smiled. "Qin Yu, oh Qin Yu, is this what you meant by his talent being poor?" In a land of divinity and demons, cultivators below the 4th level had nearly no value in raising them. Even if they stepped onto the road of cultivation, golden core was their limit. The 5th to 7th levels could be considered ordinary, and the nascent soul great Tao was within reach. Geniuses of 8th layer and above would receive the greatest amount of resources and nurture. Their future achievements would be limitless, and they might even be able to shake the world one day. Only one layer was lit. Perhaps, since the birth of the 9-story crystal pagoda, this was the first time such a shocking result had occurred. After a long period of silence, even the air seemed to become stagnant. Up above, Yu Yuanhu coughed, breaking the silence. It looks like we disturbed the operation of the crystal pagoda while we were transporting it. He flicked his sleeves, and several Yu family cultivators rushed over, their foreheads beaded with sweat. At such a crucial moment, they made such a low-level mistake. They were very clear that if they did not resolve the matter cleanly, they would definitely end up in a miserable state. The Yu family cultivators all had strange expressions on their faces. When they heard this, they let out sighs of relief, and a look of understanding appeared in their eyes. This was more like it. This was the genius that the family had been waiting for, the future formidable support of the Yu family. How could he only have the qualifications to light up the 1st level? It must be said that people with excellent aptitude were rare, and those with terrible aptitude were also rare. At the very least, in the several generations of the Yu family, besides a few innately born losers, no one had ever heard of such a low standard in the talent test. Several Yu family cultivators quickly inspected the place. The leader's face grew increasingly pale, and sweat poured down his face. The others also widened their eyes in astonishment, not knowing what to do. Yu Yuanhu furrowed his eyebrows. He asked what happened. The 9-level crystal pagoda was incomparably precious, and it had been delivered in perfect condition. If it was damaged in the Yu family, the compensation alone would not be a small amount. Reporting to Patriarch, the 9-level crystal pagoda, speak. What is it? The Yu family cultivator shivered in fright and nearly cried. It is operating normally. The entire hall fell deathly silent. Everyone was stunned for a moment before they understood the meaning behind these words. Their eyes widened. Yu Yuanhu shouted out loud, "What nonsense! Nephew Qin Yu's test results are right in front of us. So how could the 9-level crystal pagoda possibly be operating normally? I don't know." The person really wanted to cry. He clenched his teeth and said, "If Patriarch does not believe me, then let someone else try." Below, a high-level Yu family member said, "Patriarch, it's good to try." Yu Yuanhu thought for a moment and slowly nodded. Soon, a Yu family youth walked in a hall. He was 12 to 13 years old. To suddenly arrive at such a grand occasion, he had an indescribably nervous expression on his face. He knelt down and respectfully bowed. "Yu Donglin, you just completed your talent test 3 days ago. Today, we will use the 9-level crystal pagoda to confirm it again. Go." "Yes, Patriarch." Yu Donglin carefully walked to the bottom of the 9-level crystal pagoda and reached out a hand. Shwa, bright light appeared, quickly filling the 1st level. Then the 2nd level, the 3rd level, finally, it stopped at the 6th level. This proved that Yu Donglin could only be considered an average person. But no one had the mind to pay attention to this anymore. How was this possible? The person who brought Yu Donglin and cried out in alarm, his face full of shock. Countless people felt their hearts skip a beat. Yu Yuanhu took a deep breath. What was the result? Patriarch, Yu Donglin tested 3 days ago. The result was similar to this one. Whoosh! Within the hall, there was an uproar. Yu Yuanhu frowned. He slowly said, "Find another person." A second Yu family junior entered the hall. The result was obvious. At this time, everyone's eyes gathered on him, filled with disbelief. The Yu family had treated him as an honored guest, a peerless genius that would help them in the future, a future genius of the demonic path, actually only had a 1st-level talent. What kind of joke was this? Yu Yuanhu was silent for several breaths of time. Then he forced out a smile and said, "Nephew Qin Yu, It seems that my Yu family didn't make sufficient preparations. You should go back and rest first. I will carefully inspect you before speaking again." Qin Yu bitterly smiled. He cupped his hands together and left. After returning to his residence, he soon discovered that the maids and servants in the courtyard all had strange expressions on their faces. It was clear they already knew the results of the test. Then, Qin Yu discovered that with his courtyard as the center, the vigilance around him had quietly increased by a great deal. In particular, there were several powerful auras. If it weren't for his soul being powerful enough, it would have been nearly impossible to sense them. Was the Yu family guarding against something? Thinking back to what Yu Qi had said before, Qin Yu's heart sank. But he didn't reveal anything on his face. With a wave of his hand, he sent away the maids and servants. Qin Yu suppressed his thoughts. With the current situation, he could only take things one step at a time. For the next 3 days, the Yu family was incomparably calm. It seemed that after the events of that day, Qin Yu had been forgotten. There were no more banquets or invitations, and their indifferent attitude was obvious. Qin Yu didn't relax because of this. Instead, his eyes became increasingly dignified. He hoped that the Yu family would be flustered and exasperated, perhaps even humiliating him. The calmer this was, the more dangerous it was. Anxiety began to grow in his heart. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't suppress it. Qin Yu bitterly smiled. If the Yu family really wanted to harm him, there was no way he could resist. There was a knock on the courtyard doors. The servant quickly opened the door, revealing Yu Qi. After not seeing her for a short 3 days, she seemed incomparably tired. She squeezed out a smile at Qin Yu. In the main hall, the guest and host sat down. Yu Qi coughed and said, "Qin Yu, your talent is far too poor. Originally, there were many people in the family who wanted to harm you, but it was the patriarch who forcefully suppressed them and ensured your current peace." As she finished speaking, she lowered her head and sipped some tea. Her fingertips were wet with tea, and she quietly traced them across the table. Qin Yu swept his eyes over and saw the words, "Don't believe them." Then, he wiped them away with his sleeves. Qin Yu's heart skipped a beat. He gratefully said, "Yu Qi, please thank the patriarch for me." Yu Qi lightly said, "Qin Yu, you have cultivated the demon body and are still useful to my Yu family. As long as you work diligently in the future, there is no need to worry about your safety. Moreover, my Yu family hopes that we can borrow the strength of the demon body within you. For instance, we can marry a young woman of suitable age to you. Do you have any objections to this?" As she spoke, her fingers moved once more. Yu Xiao, Qin Yu's thoughts stirred. At this time, Yu Qi wouldn't have thoughts of taking revenge. If so, then there must be a deeper meaning behind what she wrote. After a pause, he said in a slightly heated voice, "Is the Yu family really willing to marry a young miss of your family to me?" Yu Qi solemnly said, "Of course. As long as you agree, the Yu family will arrange everything else." "I agree." "Good. Then you rest for a bit. I'll be leaving first." Yu Qi looked deeply at him and then turned to leave. The courtyard doors opened and closed, cutting off his line of sight. Qin Yu's smile faded, replaced by a gloomy look. It seemed that Yu Qi had guessed correctly. Moreover, she had even given him a hint. Without a doubt, the Yu family had designs on the demon body. But, in such a dangerous moment, why was Yu Qi still standing on his side? As Qin Yu was puzzled, Yu Qi was being reprimanded. "Why did you act on your own initiative and mention marrying a young woman of my Yu family? You even mentioned the demon body. Could it be that you wanted to send a message?" Yu Qi had a look of panic. This disciple doesn't dare. I have a good understanding of that Qin Yu. He is a cautious person. If I didn't say something like this, I fear he wouldn't be able to feel at ease. This disciple only wants to complete the task assigned to the family. I don't dare to have any disloyal thoughts. I ask Elder to understand. Another person thought for a moment and said, "Yu Qi's actions aren't wrong. I think that Qin Yu should have believed you." "Humph. I will remember this for now. In the future, if you dare to act on your own initiative again, I will not forgive you." As he finished speaking, he swept his eyes around. "Everyone, we have temporarily stabilized Qin Yu. And I should hurry. Someone hesitated. The demon body is a gift from the heavens. Any attempt to deprive it is a great taboo of the demonic path. Once news of this spreads, there will be great trouble. If you want to gain something, you must lose something. There is no perfect thing in this world. That's right. My Yu family's actions are indeed risky. But once we succeed, our Yu family might have a chance to rise and become a great family of the demonic path. Compared to the benefits, these risks are completely worth it. That's right. A heaven-sent opportunity is right in front of us. If we don't take it, this Qin Yu will definitely be captured by other demonic path influences. If that's the case, then we might as well make the first move. The high-level figures of the Yu family nodded and looked up. Yu Yuanhu was silent for a moment. Then, he lightly said, Yu Qi, you're the most familiar with Qin Yu. You will continue to appear and try to appease him. With these words, he made his final decision. Yu Qi respectfully nodded. She turned and left the hall. She looked up at the bright skies above her head, a trace of worry in her eyes. Chapter 274. The white porcelain cup in Yu Xiuxiu's hand smashed into the ground. Her breathing quickened and her face darkened. After a long time, she slowly said, Why me? The woman across from her had a hint of fear in her voice. She carefully said, I heard it was Yu Qi's idea. She was ordered by the patriarch to be fully responsible for pacifying Qin Yu. She paused for a moment and continued. Isn't your relationship with her very good? Why did Yu Qi choose you? Yu Xiuxiu took a deep breath. After several breaths of time, she revealed a faint smile. So, it was big sister Yu Qi. Mother, please report back, and your daughter has agreed. The woman's eyelids jumped up. She naturally understood her daughter well. If she appeared so calm and indifferent, she feared her heart was already filled with anger. She didn't dare to say anything else. She nodded and hurried away. Yu Qi, I really hate you more and more. There's still a long time in the future. We will slowly settle accounts. The next day, Qin Yu's courtyard finally welcomed a guest. The one who came was Yu Xiuxiu, her face flushed red. She said that she was looking for her disobedient little beast, but anyone could see that her excuse was inappropriate. Her nervous and stammering appearance was even more tempting. A strange light flashed deep in Qin Yu's eyes. But he had a blank expression on his face. He looked straight at her, his face full of gratitude and gratitude. Miss Xiuxiu, please come in. Yu Xiuxiu shyly nodded. After finding the little beast, she didn't hurry to leave. She warmly spoke with Qin Yu for a few moments before saying her goodbyes. The girl had already disappeared without a trace, but Qin Yu still stood at the door, a reluctant look on his face. His blushing face was filled with joy. This scene was seen by the Yu family cultivators who were secretly monitoring him. The news was quickly passed on, and the high-level Yu family members all smiled, revealing a faint sneer. It wasn't that no one thought that Qin Yu had refused the patriarch's offer of an even more alluring woman using charm arts. But after thinking about it, they thought that he was just pretending to be reserved. Now that he had been exposed and had nothing to rely on, it was normal for him to panic and want to take the initiative to do something with the Yu family woman to protect himself. It seemed that Yu Qi's strategy was correct. As long as she could appease Qin Yu and the family was prepared, he could only obediently offer up the demon body with both hands. In the following days, Yu Xiuxiu constantly visited, staying for a long time. She laughed and chatted with Qin Yu, and from time to time she would blush as if she were in love with him. As Yu Xiuxiu looked at Qin Yu's overjoyed expression, her heart chilled, and she felt even more loathing for him. But she didn't reveal anything on her face. Qin Yu, I'm leaving. I'll come and talk to you next time. Qin Yu had a reluctant expression. I'm leaving. He stood up, hesitated for a moment, and then said, Xiuxiu, I haven't toured the southern Overwatch Pass yet. Everything I know about the land of divinity and demons comes from my phone. Do you have time tomorrow? Would you like to accompany me for a stroll? Yu Xiuxiu's complexion stiffened. She hesitated for a moment. Then, she suddenly sensed the nervousness in his eyes, and her heart skipped a beat. She said, "All right, I'll take you around tomorrow. Although the Southern Overwatch Pass isn't too prosperous, there are still many fun places." Chinyu was overjoyed. "Xiao, you're the best." After exchanging a few more words, Yu Xiao gently smiled and took her leave. When she left the courtyard, her smile disappeared and was replaced by a gloomy expression. "Yu Xiao, why did you agree to bring Chinyu out of the mansion? Don't you know what a critical moment this is?" Yu Qi coldly said. Her expression was just right, revealing a bit of smug satisfaction. This smug expression caused Yu Xiao to grit her teeth. But she remained calm on the surface. "Chinyu asking me out is a probe. If I refuse, he will definitely have suspicions. At that time, it will affect the family's arrangements. Will you be responsible for the result?" Yu Qi's smug expression froze. Yu Xiao felt much better. She smiled and said, "Qinyu's mere nascent soul cultivation. What sort of storm can he stir up in the hands of my Yu family?" Yu Qi clenched her teeth. "If something happens," Yu Xiao lightly said, "I am only responsible for stabilizing Qinyu as much as possible. As for how to prevent him from escaping, that is up to Big Sister. The Patriarch has given full authority over this matter to Big Sister, so you must be careful. Otherwise, if something happens, I fear it will be hard to explain to the family." Yu Qi's face flushed red with anger, but Yu Xiao didn't give her a chance to speak again. With a victorious attitude, she turned and left. But she didn't notice that after she vanished, the worry and anger on Yu Qi's face completely vanished. Instead, there was a hint of joy in her eyes. This fellow Qin was truly astute. If he didn't leave the Yu family, how could he possibly escape? With things having progressed to this step, they were at least halfway to success. The rest would depend on her. Yu Qi gathered her thoughts and put on an angry expression once more. She hurried out to complain to the high-level figures of the family. Yu Xiao arbitrarily agreed to Qin Yu's request to go sightseeing in the Southern Overwatch Pass. "I fear there will be complications, and this disciple firmly opposes this. I ask fellow elders to make a decision." The high-level figures of the Yu family were already aware of the battle of words between Yu Qi and Yu Xiao just now, so they weren't surprised by her arrival. An elder's eyes flashed. Yu Xiao's actions are a bit rash, but her suspicions are correct. If we can avoid Qin Yu's suspicions, then agreeing to him isn't a problem. Tomorrow, the family will send out masters to secretly block off all directions. You will be in command, so it shouldn't be a problem to be a bit more cautious. Another elder said. Yu Qi had a helpless expression. She could only nod and leave with heavy steps. After she left, someone asked, "Could it be that Qin Yu has sensed something is wrong with his actions?" Everyone had already thought of this. They frowned and fell silent. The family's preparations have reached the final stages. They should be completed the day after tomorrow. There cannot be any problems at the final moment. Otherwise, if Qin Yu refuses to cooperate, that will truly be troublesome. That's right. From what I can see, that Qin Yu has basically fallen into the trap. Perhaps this is just a final probe out of caution. Tomorrow, we will send out some extra people. They won't be under Yu Qi's command, so there should be no worries. He's unfamiliar with this place, so he won't be able to come up with any tricks. Like this, the matter was settled. Qin Yu finally left the Yu family's residence. His face was filled with joy and also a bit more relaxed. Standing beside him, Yu Xiao sneered inwardly. She thought to herself, "How can you possibly contend with my Yu family with your measly methods? Just wait until tomorrow, and that will be the end of your life." A speed car was parked outside. This was the strange carriage that Qin Yu rode when he first came to the Yu family. It was said that this thing used to be called a spirit carriage because it was driven by spiritual strength, so it was simple and easy to understand. Afterwards, for some unknown reason, the name was suddenly changed. Luckily, the name speed car was appropriate, so everyone slowly accepted it. Qin Yu clumsily opened the door and gestured for her to enter. Yu Xiao faintly smiled and bent down to sit in. Qin Yu followed in and closed the door behind him. The space instantly became narrow, and the atmosphere seemed a bit warmer. Yu Xiuxiu blushed red and said in a soft voice, Qinyu, where do you want to go to play? Qinyu looked at her in a daze, as if he were mesmerized. He casually said, anywhere is fine. Yu Xiuxiu relaxed a little. Although Yu Qi would be the first to suffer, if anything happened, she would also be implicated. Since Qin Yu was willing to listen to her arrangements, things would be much easier. She thought for a moment and then clapped her hands. I got it. As she spoke, she pressed a button and a screen appeared in front of her. She lowered her head and pressed a few times. A pleasant female voice sounded out, setup complete. Destination, Eastern Suburbs. Estimated time to arrive is 2 hours. Please sit tight. Hum. The car trembled and then began to accelerate. It soon merged into the flow of traffic and vanished from sight. The eastern suburbs wasn't the outskirts, but the eastern part of the southern Overwatch Pass. It was a garden that had yet to be developed. The advantage of a large city was that it could even accommodate a mountain. For instance, this eastern suburb mountain in front of them. The scenery was incomparably beautiful, and it attracted many tourists. With a pleasant female voice saying, We have arrived at our destination. I wish you a pleasant journey. The speed car stopped at the foot of the mountain. Qinyu pushed open the door and ran out. He opened the door on the other side and let Yu Xiuxiu out. There are many fun attractions here. Let's go. Yu Xiuxiu smiled. She swept her eyes around and really did discover some people from her family. Qinyu smiled and nodded. The two of them walked up the mountain side by side. On the stone path, they would occasionally encounter cultivators playing together. But compared to the bustling southern Overwatch Pass, this was definitely a quiet and secluded place. With fewer people, it was easier to control things. At the foot of the mountain, several Yu family cultivators revealed relaxed expressions. They were well aware that their family was preparing to deal with Qinyu. If there was an accident, no one would have a good ending. Yu Qi had a light expression, but she was actually a bit nervous. She was well aware that since Qinyu had come this far, he would definitely take action. Although she had already made her decision, she hadn't communicated with Qinyu at all. It was unknown whether or not they could cooperate. Qinyu was all smiles. As if he were happily playing around with Yu Xiuxiu, his heart was actually filled with anxiety. Although he didn't know what the Yu family was planning, today was likely his last chance. But the more he thought like this, the calmer he became. Suddenly, he heard a happy voice in his ears. Xiuxiu, didn't you say you were going into seclusion? How come you've come to the eastern suburb mountain? Several young men and women walked over. Among them, a white-robed man had a happy expression. But when he saw Qinyu, his face darkened. Yu Xiuxiu frowned. She never thought she would run into Yun Yuepeng. At other times, she wouldn't mind using some methods to hold this brat in the palm of her hand. But today, she couldn't make any mistakes. She took a deep breath and calmed her fluctuating mood. She faintly smiled and said, Greetings, Brother Yun. Today, I will accompany an honored guest to play around. I will catch up with Brother Yun some other day. As she spoke, she pulled on Qinyu to leave. She wanted to leave as soon as possible, but she never imagined that Yun Yueping would see her and take the initiative to pull on Qinyu. His eyes darkened. Wait, he coldly sneered. Xiuxiu, how come I didn't know that the Yu family had such an honored guest? Yu Xiuxiu smiled. Brother Yun, don't make things difficult for Xiuxiu. Yun Yueping's complexion froze, and he couldn't help but reveal a look of hesitation. This expression caused Qinyu to curse him for being a coward. How could he just let his love rival appear like this? He lightly coughed and said, I am traveling with Miss Xiuxiu. Do you have any objections? This time, Yun Yuepeng was truly enraged. In particular, the eyes behind him. If he retreated at this time, he really wouldn't have the face to see anyone. He coldly said, Brat, so what if you have any objections? Seeing that he had taken the bait, Qinyu didn't give Yu Xiuxiu a chance to intervene. He slapped out his palm. Pa! The five-finger palm print was dark red. No one expected that Qinyu would attack just like that. Yun Yuepeng was stunned, the young man and woman behind him were stunned, and even Yu Xiuxiu was stunned. Saying such ruthless words was too much of a waste. If he wanted to attack, he should have just attacked. Yun Yueping's eyes turned crimson. He lifted his hand, and a red waterfall shot out, sending Chinyu flying away. Puff! Chinyu spat out a mouthful of blood and crashed into the forest beside the road. Yunyuepeng clenched his teeth and chased after him. Brat, I want you to die. A cruel and ruthless aura surged around him. The weeds and thorns were directly shattered apart and scattered to the ground. He looked around but couldn't find Chinyu's figure. You bastard, where are you hiding? Come out and die. Bang, bang. He punched out again and again. The surrounding trees suffered a great calamity. With loud rumbling sounds, they constantly fell down. You bastard, hurry up and come out. Come out. Yu Xiuxiu quivered and finally regained her composure. She rushed over and grabbed onto Yun Yuepeng. She squeezed out a smile. Chinyu, don't worry. I've held back Brother Yun, so he won't attack again. Hurry up and come out. Yun Yuepeng wanted to say something, but Yu Xiuxiu turned her head. Her eyes were ice cold, causing his heart to shrink. The surroundings were silent. There was only the sound of dust and wood shavings falling to the ground, as if they were naked, jeering at them. Yu Xiuxiu's complexion paled. She screamed, hurry up and find him. Whoosh, whoosh. Chapter 275. Yu Qi's heart shrank. Chinyu had attacked. She shouted out loud, everyone follow me. No matter the cost, we must capture Chinyu. Whoosh, he was the first to rush out. Behind him, the stunned Yu family cultivators hurriedly followed. Deep in their eyes, there was fear. Chinyu had escaped. He had actually escaped. If something were to happen to him, the clan would absolutely not be lenient towards them. In their eyes, Yu Qi's panic was normal. If Chinyu ran away, she would be the first to suffer, so no one discovered her. They followed Yu Qi's beehive of momentum, but it was also incomparably chaotic. It was inevitable that they would miss some people in their encirclement. Chin, Yu quietly lay on the ground. If it weren't for the slight rise and fall of his chest, one would think he was a corpse without any aura, no different from the surrounding trees and stones. In his chest, his heartbeat had already dropped to its lowest point, only beating once after a long time. Listening to the chaos around him, his eyes were sharp and bright. Suddenly, Chinyu exerted strength in his hands. His feet gently pushed off the ground, and he quietly moved along the ground. In the blink of an eye, he crossed 100 feet and hid himself in the thistles and thorns. In the next moment, a Yu family cultivator appeared where he had been hiding. His complexion paled as he looked around. After finding nothing, he turned and left. But the moment he left, his body slammed into the branches and leaves. Chinyu also moved. He passed through the thistles and neared the summit. If he left the eastern suburb mountain and mixed into the vast crowd of the southern Overwatch Pass, no matter how powerful the Yu family was, it wouldn't be easy for them to find Chinyu. But if he could think of this, the Yu family would also be able to think of it. At this time, there were countless people gathered at the foot of the mountain, waiting for him to walk into their trap. Even though he couldn't escape at the moment, he could still look for other opportunities. Suddenly, Chinyu stiffened. He pressed himself against the ground, and even his weak gasp for breath came to a stop. In the next moment, a boundless divine sense swept out. It was like an invisible knife scraping past him. Goosebumps instantly appeared on the surface of his skin. He felt as if a peerless, vicious beast had locked onto him, and he would die in the next moment. Chinyu's divine sense wandered back and forth, but he remained motionless. After a long time, he slowly retracted it. His eyes flashed, but he remained lying where he was. After several breaths of time, another divine sense descended. If he had moved just now, he would have been discovered. The second divine sense didn't linger for long. After sweeping the area once, it immediately retracted. Chinyu stepped forwards and stormed away. Yu Xiuxiu's face darkened. Can't find it? How could it not be found? She coldly looked at Yu Qi. You've been leading people around like headless flies. Could it be that you deliberately revealed a flaw so that you could escape? Many of the Yu family cultivators stiffened. As they thought about how they had panicked just now, their expressions darkened. They looked at Yu Qi with surprise in their eyes. Yu Qi was enraged. She coldly said, "You Xiao, don't slander me. You were at Qin Yu's side the entire time, and you even lost sight of him. So you are the more suspicious one." She clenched her teeth. "That's right. The patriarch ordered me to take full responsibility for this matter. I cannot be forgiven for Qin Yu running away, but don't think you'll be any better off." Everyone recalled that the two of them were not on good terms, so it was normal for them to attack each other. Their suspicions towards Yu Qi dissipated quite a bit. "Shut up." A Yu family expert stepped through the void. "What time is it? Yet you're still fighting amongst yourselves. Everyone scatter for me. We must capture Qin Yu before the news spreads." "Yes." Yu Qi bowed together with everyone else. A strange light flashed deep in her eyes. Her arrangements should begin now. She hoped that they would be useful and disrupt the Yu family's plans. Within the Southern Overwatch Pass, it was unknown where a rumor began to spread. It was said that the Yu family had plotted to steal someone else's treasure, and after being seen through, they were now wantonly hunting someone down. It was said that this treasure was incomparably mystical and contained many mystical strengths. It could help a cultivator cultivate and was unparalleled in power. Originally, everyone had seen this sort of random rumor far too many times, so they didn't care much about it. This time was no exception. Most cultivators that heard it simply laughed it off. But soon, as a massive number of Yu family cultivators gathered at the eastern suburb mountain and news of Yu family masters appearing was confirmed, the Southern Overwatch Pass cultivators that thought it was a joke began to turn serious. They didn't believe that the Yu family would easily leak out such an important piece of information. But according to the information they obtained, they were indeed hunting down someone. After a short period of hesitation, the various cultivators didn't hurry to attack. They only probed. At the base of the eastern suburb mountain, several cultivators that tried to sneak in were forcefully rejected by the Yu family cultivators. Then, an undercurrent began to quietly circulate within the Southern Overwatch Pass. The Yu family's strength couldn't be underestimated in the Southern Overwatch Pass. Their influence was deeply rooted, but there were still many that were hostile to them. Finally, the first influence chose to attack. At the base of the eastern suburb mountain, they violently clashed with the Yu family cultivators, breaking through the blockade and rushing into the eastern suburb mountain. And this collision caused those that were still watching to make a decision. If the Yu family was so cautious and didn't hesitate to attack in order to block off the eastern suburb mountain, then even if the rumors weren't true, there was definitely something fishy going on. Or was the Yu family really trying to steal some powerful treasure? Whoosh, whoosh, speed cars howled forwards, gathering at the base of the eastern suburb mountain. Cultivators stepped out one after another, many of them famous masters of the Southern Overwatch Pass. The Yu family was immediately placed in a difficult position. With so many people representing so many influences, it was impossible for the Yu family to forcefully refuse. Yu Yuanhu's face darkened. Things had progressed far beyond his expectations. He never imagined that the entire Yu family would be played by this junior. What a bunch of trash. There are so many of them, and yet they can't even look after a mere nascent soul. It's useless to say these things now. All sorts of news is spreading, and many influences are beginning to stir. The situation is grim. Masters from all sides have already appeared at the base of the eastern suburb mountain. I fear they will soon begin probing us. In a grand hall, the high-level Yu family members all had ugly complexions. As they thought of Qin Yu, they gnashed their teeth in hatred. What a cunning brat. He had actually pushed the Yu family into such a situation. Yu Yuanhu suddenly sent a message to all sides. The Yu family is willing to give up the qualifications to enter the Demon Ascension Gate. With this as the price, we demand that they give up on this matter. What? Patriarch, please reconsider. The Demon Ascension Gate is an extremely important matter. It is one of the hopes of my Yu family. Patriarch, we don't need to pay such a heavy price. Yu Yuanhu's sharp eyes swept around the grand hall. If we succeed in plundering the demon body, then the rise of my Yu family will be within reach. Moreover, do you think that if Qin Yu falls into the hands of others, they won't be able to find out what my Yu family has done today? The faces of the high-level Yu family members stiffened. Beads of sweat began to drip down their foreheads, plundering the demon body. This matter could be considered a minor one or a major one. If the outside world didn't know about it, then that wouldn't be a problem. But once news of this leaked out, the Yu family would suffer a great calamity. Patriarch is wise. No one had any objections. A Yu family master hesitated. But if there are still people entangling themselves in the eastern suburb mountain, what should we do? Yu Yuanhu coldly sneered. The Yu family has already paid such a great price. If they are smart, they should know what to do. If they still want to entangle themselves with us, then that is an irreconcilable enmity with my Yu family. Don't worry. Unless they obtain concrete evidence, there won't be anyone willing to fight to the death with us. Reality proved that Yu Yuanhu's judgment was correct. As Qin Yu moved towards the mountain peak, the massive number of cultivators that had rushed into the eastern suburb mountain began to withdraw. They were well aware of the significance of the Demon Ascension Gate. The Yu family had put forth their utmost sincerity and also their final compromise. No one wanted to become irreconcilable enemies with the Yu family in a situation where they weren't prepared. This was especially true today when they didn't know what was going on. The Yu family blocked off the eastern suburb mountain. Layer upon layer of search began, spreading upwards from the base of the mountain. The divine senses of the Yu family powerhouses shrouded the area, and a massive number of disciples didn't miss a single corner. It was like an inescapable net with no way to escape. Qin Yu's complexion darkened. The Yu family masters constantly swept out with their divine senses, causing his movements to be greatly restricted. Gradually, he was overtaken by the people searching for him. Qin Yu took a deep breath and suppressed his tumbling thoughts. He took advantage of a gap between two sweeping divine senses and rushed forwards. But in the next moment, a Yu family cultivator suddenly appeared in front of him. This person's eyes widened, and he said with wild joy, "He's Puff." Before he finished speaking, he screamed miserably and blood gushed out from his nose and mouth. His body curled up as he was sent flying backwards, crashing into several large trees. But this movement had already attracted attention. Loud shouts rang out, and a massive number of Yu family cultivators came howling over. Qin Yu didn't have time to bitterly smile. He shot into the skies and activated the blood escape art, pushing his speed to the limit. "He's here! Catch him! We can't let him escape!" Shouts came from all directions. Qin Yu's eyes flashed. He heard Yu Qi's voice. "The entrance to the underground river isn't too far away. We can't let him escape. Otherwise, no one will be able to bear the consequences." In the blink of an eye, Qin Yu's thoughts raced. He stepped forwards and changed directions, shooting straight towards where Yu Qi was. Wherever the blood-red flames passed, branches would be torn apart. Suddenly, a bright light appeared in front of him. On a mountain path, Yu Qi was leading over a dozen Yu family cultivators. "Qin Yu!" Yu Qi shouted out loud. "Catch him!" The overjoyed Yu family cultivators roared out in anger and howled forwards. Qin Yu narrowed his eyes. At this time, Yu Qi, who had fallen behind, quietly formed a seal with her hands. A drum formed from black, demonic energy suddenly began to ring. Caught off guard, the Yu family cultivators that rushed out screamed miserably as they fell to the ground like dumplings. Qin Yu didn't stop. He flew forwards and landed in front of Yu Qi. "Hurry and leave. This is all I can help you with." "What about you?" Yu Qi flipped her hand and a seal appeared. "With this here, how can the Yu family do anything to me?" "What is this?" Yu Qi was stunned. It was only then that she realized that the shrewd and decisive man in front of her was in truth an idiot. "There's no time to explain. Hurry and leave. If you feel that you owe me, then work hard to survive. There is a way out in this direction. Hurry and leave." Qin Yu cupped his hands together. Without saying anything else, the blood-red flames raced away. "Yu Qi, you dare to betray the family? No one can save you. You will pay a price." The Yu family cultivators that fell to the ground roared out in hatred. Whoosh, whoosh. Chapter 276. Qin Yu believed that Yu Qi wouldn't bring about her own destruction. He could no longer care about what was happening behind him. If he were to be discovered, even the slightest delay, he would immediately fall into a hopeless situation. Fiercely rushing to the summit, he finally saw the exit that Yu Qi spoke of. It was a pond of spring water at the peak of the mountain. The water was clear, and under the illumination of the spirit lamp, one could clearly see the bottom of the pond. If there was spring water, there would naturally be a spring mouth, which meant that there was an underground waterway. As long as he entered it, he would be able to escape from this place by going against the flow. Putong, waves splashed up from the pool. Like a giant fish, Qin Yu shot straight towards the mouth of the spring. In the next moment, the entire pool suddenly froze, and the water in the pool rushed into the air. The mouth of the spring was torn open by an invisible force, and a large amount of spring water gushed out. But there was no sign of Qin Yu. Serene far away, Lake appeared in the skies above the pond. His eyes were as sharp as blades, as if they could pierce through the mountains. He said in a low voice, "Pass down my order. Seal off all the waterways within 100 miles of the eastern suburb mountain. Lock up Qin Yu." Whoosh, whoosh, streaks of light flew out of the eastern suburb mountain and spread in all directions. In the mountain, Yu Qi, who was being closely guarded, suddenly raised her head to look at the scattered clansmen. A smile appeared on her face. Qin Yu had escaped. In a certain gorgeous mansion, in a lotus pond in the backyard, a few koi carps that were leisurely wagging their tails suddenly fled in all directions in fright. In the depths of the clear pond, sludge spread out, dyeing the water black. After several breaths of time, Qin Yu quietly climbed onto the shore. He let out a muffled groan, and his face grew even paler. He took a deep breath to suppress the roiling blood in his chest, and then quickly left. A moment later, in a narrow alley, Qin Yu emerged once more. This time, his entire body was covered in black robes. The demon god armor had infinite transformations, so it wasn't difficult to accomplish this. Qin Yu mixed into the flow of people and walked along the street. His eyes were casual, and his demeanor was calm and natural. But beneath his black robes, his complexion became increasingly heavy. The Yu family was determined to win. Along the way, the 3 inns and restaurants all had soldiers inspecting them. Looking at how strict the security was, he could not avoid it. He didn't expect them to be able to mobilize an army. Qin Yu paused for a moment. In front of him, there was a long line of people waiting at the intersection. All the speed cars had stopped for inspection. At the same time, among the pedestrians, there were also soldiers inspecting them. From afar, they could hear the complaints. They were using the military's excuse of arresting serious criminals. Clearly, this was the work of the Yu family. Qin Yu turned to leave, but after turning halfway, he stopped. He warmly greeted the person beside him. "Brother Liu, it's been a long time since we last met. I never thought we would meet here today. Sigh, I still have urgent matters to attend to. Who would have thought that I would be delayed here? The military can't do anything to stop the bandits, so I'll just have to wait patiently to break down the door." After saying that, he shook his head and turned around helplessly. "Ah, that's right. Cultivator Liu rubbed his head and whispered, "Brother Zhang, do you know who this is? Not Brother Liu's friend? I don't have much of an impression. Ha. Brother Liu has a wide circle of friends. Maybe it's a friend you met once. He remembers you, but you've completely forgotten him. Cough, cough. That's rude of me." As this pair of friends whispered into each other's ears, Qin Yu let out a light breath. When he turned around just now, he could keenly feel 3 pairs of eyes locking onto him from behind the windows on both sides of the street. If he really turned around and left, he was afraid that he would be interrogated immediately. The Yu family was truly meticulous. Qin Yu lined up as if nothing had happened. Although the line wasn't moving too quickly, he grew increasingly anxious as he approached the end of the street. If this continued, it would only be a matter of time before he was discovered. Suddenly, Qin Yu caught sight of a figure passing by. He turned his head, his eyes rapidly flashing. After several breaths of time, as he saw this person about to turn and leave, he took several steps back and smiled. "Captain Tianyun, it's been a long time." Tianyun frowned. You are. Qin lowered his voice. Several days ago, there was a wolf monster causing trouble at the transmission square. Tianyun's eyes brightened. Qin knew that Tianyun had already figured out who he was. Qin never underestimated anyone's intelligence. In the situation that day, and comparing it to today's events, it wasn't hard for Tianyun to guess what had happened. Although it wasn't appropriate to entrust his safety to a cultivator he had only met once, Qin, you could only make a gamble at this time. A tiny chance was better than waiting for death. Tianyun looked deeply at Qin. He suddenly shouted, "So it was you? Men, come and capture this deserter. This captain wants to personally interrogate him." Qin tense body relaxed a little, and a look of gratitude appeared in his eyes. Then he lowered his head in panic and allowed 2 soldiers to drag him away. This commotion clearly attracted attention. A soldier who seemed to have a higher status from his armor came over to inquire. Tianyun smiled and said a few words. The soldier looked at Qin for a moment and then nodded and left. It seemed that Tianyun had some face in the army. Qin could feel the eyes that were locked onto him gradually fading away. He relaxed a little and was dragged behind a windowless speed car. Then, a soldier came in and controlled the speed car to fly away. With a military pass, the speed car was unimpeded. It passed through the blockaded search area and soon entered an underground parking lot. This parking lot was also a new and interesting thing. It was specifically used to store speed cars. After all, even if one had a storage treasure, most people wouldn't be willing to use it to store something as large as a speed car. Come down. The military parking lot was heavily guarded. The soldiers said a few words to the guard and then pushed Qin up the stairs. They ascended all the way to the 13th floor, opened the confinement room, and locked Qin inside. As the iron door closed, a sharp light flashed in Qin eyes. He swept his eyes around. The walls of the confinement room were made of some sort of bright metal. He reached out and touched it, feeling a faint numbness. It contained a terrifying strength. It seemed that there was no way to leave this place. Qin revealed a helpless look. He closed his eyes and meditated. Around 2 hours later, the confinement room was opened. Tianyun's voice sounded out from within the light. "Are you fellow Taoist, Qin?" Qin stood up and pulled down his black robes. He cupped his hands together and said, "I am Qin. Thank you, Captain Tianyun, for helping me." These words were the same as admitting to some of his guesses. Tianyun's eyes brightened. He smiled and said, "As I thought, the Yu family's great commotion today was caused by fellow Taoist Qin." His eyes blazed. Qin fell silent. Then a tyrannical aura broke out from his body. Tianyun's expression chilled. Demon body. His face immediately darkened. The Yu family, how bold. This person was indeed a smart person. Qin remained silent. Tianyun was startled, then immediately understood. He said, "Fellow Taoist Qin, don't worry. I will not have the slightest intention of harming you." He faintly smiled and said, "Because we are the same kind of person." An aura gushed out from his body. Qin eyebrows shot up. The aura of the demon body. Tianyun smiled. "Now, fellow Taoist Qin, you should be able to feel at ease. You and I are both demon body cultivators. According to the rules of my demonic path, you can call me Senior Apprentice Brother." Qin cupped his hands together. "Senior Apprentice Brother Tianyun. Haha, Junior Apprentice Brother Qin." Tianyun sighed with emotion. Junior Apprentice Brother came from the land of exiles, and not only do you have your current cultivation, but you have also cultivated the demon body. Your talent is hard to imagine. If you survive today's calamity, you will surely soar into the heavens in the future. His expression was solemn. So, I advise Junior Apprentice Brother Qin you not to rush to the Yu family for revenge. In fact, don't even mention the matter of Yu Qi trying to steal your demon body. After all, there is no proof of your words. Now that this matter has been exposed, the result is unknown. Qin nodded. "Thank you for your advice, Senior Apprentice Brother." Tianyun could see that Qin expression was sincere and didn't hesitate at all. It was clear that he had already thought of this. A bit of appreciation appeared in Tianyun's eyes. Junior Apprentice Brother is a smart person. It seems I was overthinking things. However, there is one thing I don't understand. With junior apprentice brother's talent and prospects, the Yu family would do everything in their power to win you over. So why would they dare to harm you? Qin Yu hesitated. Tianyin waved his hand. Junior apprentice brother, if you find this difficult, then just pretend I didn't ask. Although he had temporarily escaped danger, he would still need to borrow Tianyin's help in the future. Qin Yu bitterly smiled. Senior apprentice brother saved me today, so how could I possibly hide it? The reason the Yu family attacked me was because my talent was too poor. Tianyin was stunned. How ridiculous! Junior apprentice brother Qin, you cultivated the demon body in the land of exiles and even reached the nascent soul realm. How could the Yu family dare to ask for anything higher? Qin Yu coughed. My demon body and cultivation came from lucky chances and luck. In terms of talent, it is indeed a bit lacking. Tianyin thought he was being modest, but when he heard Qin Yu say that during the Yu family's talent test, only the first level of the 9-level crystal pagoda had lit up, his eyes nearly popped out of his head. Tianyin felt that he could somewhat understand the Yu family's actions. Imagine finding a genius in the barren land and spending a lot of money to pick him up, only to find out that he was just a silver spear with a wax stick. It would be strange if he didn't go crazy. Cough. Although talent is important, the will of man can overcome the will of the heavens. Since junior apprentice brother Qin Yu has his current cultivation, it can be seen that he has a great destiny on his body. In the future, you might be able to... Tianyin didn't believe these words. It was fine to have some dogshit luck once or twice, but to rely on this to become a powerhouse was nothing more than a daydream. Qin Yu wryly smiled. Senior apprentice brother Tianyin, there is no need to comfort me. However, I won't give up. Since I came to the land of divinity and demons, no matter how poor my talent is, I will still fight for my future. Tianyin was filled with deep veneration. Good. Junior apprentice brother Qin is so ambitious. I am a great man, and I need to have this kind of heart that doesn't fear hardships and struggles to become stronger. Moreover, even if one's innate talent is poor, it isn't impossible to change it. The land of divinity and demons is vast and endless, and there are countless heavenly materials. Among them, there are many treasures that can change one's fate and increase one's talent. For instance, in my army, there is a famous first-grade lotus that can help increase one's talent. Qin Yu's eyes brightened. It can really increase one's talent? Tianyin laughed. I naturally wouldn't joke with junior apprentice brother about this. If you don't believe me, then you can join the army. I can't guarantee anything else, but I can directly confirm the matter of exchanging for a first-grade lotus. Qin Yu's eyes flashed. He cupped his hands together and said, I wonder if senior apprentice brother Tianyin can introduce me? Tianyin was startled. He didn't think that Qin Yu would take this seriously. He immediately thought that the reason Qin Yu joined the army was to avoid the Yu family. Junior apprentice brother joining my army is indeed a good method. Even if the Yu family is powerful, they still wouldn't dare to be insolent in the army. Qin Yu thought for a moment and shook his head. I currently don't have the qualifications to be enemies with the Yu family. It is best if I am not discovered. Senior apprentice brother, do you have a way to send me out of the Southern Overwatch Pass in the name of joining the army? Tianyin frowned. Out of the Southern Overwatch Pass, there's a place, but I don't recommend junior apprentice brother go. Qin Yu's eyes brightened. Where? Tianyin slowly said, the Beast Hunting Battalion. Hashtag, 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 hashtag. Chapter 277. The Beast Hunting Battalion couldn't be considered a true military establishment. Rather, it was more like a place of punishment. If someone committed a great crime, they would be sent here to atone for their crimes. If they managed to survive, they would be pardoned of all their crimes. Of course, over the years, there were some people who viewed the Beast Hunting Battalion as a tempering experience. But the astonishing rate of losses meant that very few people dared to do this. Stand up, you bunch of short-lived ghosts. Listen up. The things I'm going to give you are all life-saving items. If you aren't careful and lose them, then just wait to die." He waved his hand and said, "Give them what they want and hurry up and have them fuck off. Looking at them makes me feel unlucky." Chinyu stood in the middle of a group of soldiers and received his own items. There was a token to enter the beast hunting battalion and a crystal refined from some sort of crystal. Without anyone telling him how to use it, he was cursed and sent away. In the camp's parking lot, he gathered with several other squads of soldiers that were about to enter the beast hunting battalion. "What are you all standing there for? Are you waiting to eat? Everyone get on board. Don't even let out a fart on the road. If you attract any monster beasts, you're dead." With loud shouts, groups of soldiers with dejected faces and fearful eyes were shoved into the carriage. The runes on the surface of a large speed car lit up, and it quietly flew away. Chinyu sat in the carriage, feeling the cold metal beneath him. Compared to the silent flight, the interior of the military carriage wasn't comfortable at all. The faint bumps made one's vision blur. Glancing around, besides a few ferocious-looking soldiers who didn't seem to care, the rest of the soldiers were panic-stricken, their faces pale. Suddenly, a red light lit up within the carriage. A blood-red light fell onto one's body, causing one's heart to tighten. Warning, the convoy has left the range of the Southern Overwatch Pass and has entered the wilderness. Please restrain your aura. An icy voice pierced into the depths of one's heart like an arrow. "Ka ka ka." Teeth chattered. A handsome soldier to the side began to shiver uncontrollably. "Huh, this coward, he's scared like this as soon as he entered the wilderness. He's definitely dead." A ruffian soldier recklessly laughed. The handsome soldier's face flushed red. But facing the ferocious eyes, he clenched his teeth and lowered his head. There was another round of laughter. Chinyu had a calm expression. He lowered his head, not caring about what was happening around him. A moment later, his expression changed. In the next moment, the entire carriage began to roll violently. He didn't know what material the car was made of, but it was definitely incomparably firm. Yet, it was easily torn apart by the sharp claws. Chinyu watched helplessly as the claws passed by him. His body tensed, and all the hairs on his back stood up. Beside him, the previously incomparably terrified soldier's eyes widened with astonishment. With a miserable scream, he was dragged away by the claw. A large hole was torn open in the carriage. Chinyu watched as a blue-armored monster beast with 4 limbs fell to the ground, chewed on him several times, and swallowed him. Demonic beast attack. Miserable shrieks rang out. At this moment, the entire caravan had been scattered, and miserable screams could be heard everywhere. There were 3 blue-shelled demon beasts attacking the convoy. Bang! Chinyu opened the shackles that secured his body and leapt out of the carriage. But just as he took several steps, the earth behind him suddenly broke apart, and another black-armored monster beast rushed out, dragging the entire carriage into the ground. The pitiful cries soon died down, and no one escaped from underground. A chill drilled out from Chinyu's heart. He discovered that he had underestimated just how dangerous the land of divinity and demons was. This was the wilderness where monster beasts roamed freely. No wonder Tanyan had advised him not to enter the hunting camp, but this thought flashed for a moment before it was suppressed. Then he stormed forwards. Thinking about these things now was useless. Escaping from here was the most important thing. Roar! A loud roar resounded in his ears. A foul wind billowed in the air. Chinyu's pupils shrank. He turned and punched out. Bang! The black-armored monster beast roared in pain. It staggered, and Chinyu spat out a mouthful of blood. He borrowed the momentum to retreat even faster. Like a boulder being tossed out by a catapult, he vanished into the jungle in several flashes. An hour later, the remnants of the caravan had gathered together. There were only half of the original number, and the entire squad responsible for escorting them had vanished without a trace. The atmosphere was incomparably oppressive. Some severely wounded cultivators groaned in pain, adding a bit of gloom to the atmosphere. Everyone, the caravan has been attacked by monster beasts. You and I are stranded in the wilderness. If we return to the Southern Overwatch Pass, we will most likely die. Our only path to survival is to break through the obstacles and enter the beast hunting camp. I've already checked the map. From here to the beast hunting camp is only a day's journey away. As long as our luck is good, we might be able to survive. The person who spoke had a dignified demeanor and an imposing aura. I am Wang Yuanan. I am willing to lead everyone and fight for a path of survival in this perilous situation. We are willing to follow Brother Wang. We will follow Brother Wang's orders. Several soldiers cupped their hands together in greeting. It was clear they had already made up their minds. Wang Yuanan laughed. Good. With the help of so many brothers, we will surely reach our destination. He swept his eyes around. I wonder if anyone else is willing to join us. This person's cultivation wasn't ordinary, and the eyes of the soldiers protecting him shined with a sharp light. It was clear he was strong. At this time, he immediately became the pillar of support in everyone's eyes. We are willing to follow. We are willing to follow Brother Wang's orders. Qinyu felt that in this situation, if everyone joined forces to break through, they would have the best chance of survival. He stood up and followed the crowd. Good. Since everyone trusts me, I will do my best to protect all of us. After Wang Yuanan established his position, he immediately entered his role. Everyone, hurry up and rest. We will leave in an hour. An hour passed in the blink of an eye. The group set off. Wang Yuanan took out a handphone. But it was different from the one Qin you had seen before. Moreover, in this wilderness, after fiddling with it a few times, he was able to barely connect to a signal. It's a satellite handphone. That's great. With a satellite positioning system, we can avoid most monster beasts. Brother Wang is truly our benefactor. The soldiers were all overjoyed. Qinyu listened for a moment and finally understood what a satellite handphone was. In a land of divinity and demons, there were super influences that paid a transcendent price to launch a massive magic tool similar to a signal tower into the highest heavens. This magic tool was called a satellite. This magic tool could cover a vast expanse of territory and transmit all sorts of secret signals to a custom-made handphone. Of course, the price of a satellite handphone was unimaginably high. Moreover, not everyone had the qualifications to possess one. Everyone looked at Wang Yuanan with awe in their eyes. Qinyu heard some people say that he was one of those legendary individuals with great backgrounds that entered the beast hunting battalion to adventure. A satellite handphone had officially established Wang Yuanan's status. Perhaps it really was because the satellite handphone played its role. The group moved forward smoothly. They encountered two small monster beasts, and they were also smoothly killed. Looking at the map, they weren't too far away from the beast hunting battalion. However, Qinyu discovered that their route wasn't a straight one. There was a small deviation from where the beast hunting battalion was. Before he could speak, someone asked about this. Wang Yuanan lightly said, "The reason we deviated is because if we were to go straight, there would be a place where monster bees gather. If you and I were to enter, it would be difficult for us to escape calamity." As he spoke, he projected an image from the satellite handphone. In a mountain valley, there was a pitch-black beehive the size of a house. Monster bees the size of an adult's palm constantly flew in and out. Everyone revealed a look of understanding. You and I are currently in a dangerous place. If we aren't careful, there will be a great calamity. I don't blame you for worrying too much, but since you chose to believe in me, don't casually question my decisions. My explanation just now has already delayed you, so we must speed up the following steps. So, I hope that there won't be a next time. The soldier who spoke revealed a look of shame. Everyone nodded in agreement. The group moved forwards a little faster. The ordinary soldiers were fine, but those who were injured to begin with found it particularly difficult to persist. The smell of blood began to fill the air. It seemed that some soldier's wound had ruptured during the journey. Suddenly, Wang Yuanan's complexion changed. "Be careful." Bang! A thick tree fell down with a loud rumble. A ferocious demon beast covered in blood-red scales pounced out like a blood-red bolt of lightning. An injured soldier didn't even have time to scream before he was bitten in half at the waist. Blood immediately splashed onto the ground. Heavy breathing mixed with the sound of chewing. When the surrounding people heard this, all the blood drained from their faces, turning them deathly white. Blood spirit monster beast. Endless fear filled the air. Wang Yuanan roared out, "Run!" With a flash of light, he howled away, several soldiers following close behind him. The entire group instantly scattered. Luckily, everyone still retained a bit of reason. They knew that running around would only lead to death, so they followed behind Wang Yuanan and the others. Miserable screams sounded out from behind him. Qin Yu turned around to see that the injured soldiers he had taken care of along the way had all fallen to the ground, becoming food for the blood spirit monster beast. It tore at them, chewed on them, and swallowed them. It paused its pursuit of the fleeing people. Many soldiers relaxed as they saw this. Qin Yu didn't deny that he also had similar thoughts. His eyes fell on Wang Yuanan and the others, and he subconsciously frowned. Wang Yuanan's expression was normal, but the people around him seemed a bit too calm. Their reactions were also too uniform. It was like they already knew that the blood spirit monster beast would appear. There were also these injured soldiers that had been brought here. If things were really as Qin Yu thought, then Wang Yuanan's thoughts were far too terrifying. Qin Yu's heart chilled. He looked away and hurried forwards. A moment later, the lucky group of people that hadn't encountered any other monster beasts finally stopped to catch their breaths. After fleeing in panic, everyone was gasping for breath and dripping with sweat. As they thought of the injured soldiers that had been abandoned, many of them revealed looks of guilt. Wang Yuanan said in a low voice, "I know that none of you feel good in your hearts. Those that died just now might have been your family or friends. But the blood spirit monster beast strength isn't something that you or I can contend with. If we hadn't run away just now, we would have all been killed by it. All right, everyone keep your spirits up. In another half a day, we will arrive at the camp." The slightly gloomy atmosphere immediately relaxed. Wang Yuanan's words had given them a way out of this embarrassing predicament and given them hope of survival. Chapter 278. As Qin Yu was resting, he felt someone approach him. He opened his eyes and saw a calm and solemn face. This was someone beside Wang Yuanan. He had a late, nascent soul cultivation and killing intent lingered around his body. It was clear he was a veteran of battle. "My name is Zhang Chun. May I ask for fellow Taoist's name?" Qin Yu maintained his composure. "Qin Yu." Zhang Chun smiled. "Fellow Taoist Qin, how do you do? As we travel through the wilderness, we can encounter dangers at any time. Thus, Brother Wang proposed to form a sharp knife squad so that we can respond to danger at any time. The reason I came here today is under Brother Wang's orders to invite fellow Taoist Qin to become a member of the sharp knife squad." The surrounding people revealed looks of envy. This sharp knife squad was simply a team of masters working together. If they encountered danger, they would be able to respond quickly. And, most importantly, they could fight and also flee. Once an extremely serious danger appeared, the members of the Sharp Knife Squad would have the highest chance of leaving alive. But what left everyone dumbfounded was that facing this invitation, Qin Yu hesitated for a moment and then refused. "My apologies. My cultivation is low, and I fear I will drag you all down. It is best if I follow behind." Zhang Chun frowned. "Fellow Taoist Qin, will you not reconsider?" Qin Yu cupped his hands together. "My apologies." Zhang Chun's complexion turned cold. He turned and walked away. A moment later, the Sharp Knife Squad was formed. Of all the people invited, besides Qin Yu, no one refused. Thus, the one who refused was particularly conspicuous. Wang Yuanan frowned. He glanced over and then faintly smiled at the many dissatisfied gazes. "It's fine. Everyone has their own ambitions. I can't force them." "Humph. Cowardly rats. They don't even dare to face monster beasts. With such a personality, even if they have a bit of cultivation, they are useless. It's better if they don't come. If they join us, they might be a disaster instead." Wang Yuanan cupped his hands together. "With everyone's help, I am deeply grateful. You and I will work together to overcome today's difficulties. We will advance and retreat together with Brother Wong. We will slaughter the monster beasts." Everyone was in high spirits. It was clear that everyone understood that if they joined forces, their chances of survival would be much greater. The group rested for a moment before hurrying on their way. The Sharp Knife Squad played an important role. Their speed rapidly increased. There was simply no way to resist them. As a member of the Sharp Blade Squad, he was naturally in the limelight. Several female cultivators in the squad had bright eyes. After a short break, there was even a charming woman who pulled one of the team members away from the team and returned just before they set off. Looking at their flushed faces and lustful expressions, it went without saying what had just happened. The only thing that was not beautiful was that this handsome and burly member of the Sharp Blade team was a little too fast. Of course, these were all insignificant matters. Even though there were many people who saw it, no one had the mood to say anything. According to the map, he wasn't too far from the beast hunting battalion. As long as he passed through the deep and narrow gorge, he would arrive. Wang Yuanan was very cautious. He first sent 2 cultivators with him to investigate, while the team rested for the time being. A moment later, the 2 returned one after the other, shaking their heads to indicate that they were safe. The terrain here is dangerous. Once danger appears, there will be heavy casualties. Dagger Squad, follow me to open a path. Everyone, be careful. Wang Yuanan's words caused everyone to nod. As the leader of the squad, if he was willing to take the lead, then others wouldn't say anything. Thus, Wang Yuanan, who led the Sharp Knife Squad into the gorge, received looks of admiration. Everyone felt that this Brother Wang was a trustworthy person. The gorge was extremely long, and both sides were covered with thick forests and vines. They covered the sky and made it dim. It was unknown how many years had passed, but a thick layer of rotten leaves had accumulated on the ground. As one walked on it, it was soft and occasionally emitted poisonous miasma. Luckily, everyone's cultivation was high and they were careful enough, so no accidents occurred. At the start, everything went smoothly. Several awakened monster beasts faced the Sharp Knife Squad and were easily cut down. The squad gradually entered the middle of the gorge. Qin Yu sniffed the air and furrowed his eyebrows. There seemed to be a strange, fishy smell in the air. This was different from the smell of rotten leaves. But as for what it was exactly, he couldn't tell. He only felt an indescribable heaviness in his heart. After hesitating for a moment, Qin Yu didn't say anything. But in his heart, he became a bit more cautious. After walking forwards for a while, the fishy smell in the air became much lighter. Just as Qin Yu thought he was overthinking things, a sudden change occurred. At the front of the squad, miserable screams rose up. The Sharp Knife Squad that had been looking down on them all seemed as if they had been thrown into a pot of boiling oil. Flames crazily burned them. But what was strange was that these flames had no effect on the fallen leaves on the ground, the trees on the sides, or the vines. They only attached themselves to flesh and blood and burned them. As long as they were touched, they would be like maggots. No magic arts or supernatural powers could extinguish them. They could only be burned to ashes. In several breaths of time, most of the cultivators of the Sharp Knife Squad had perished in the sea of flames. That cultivator who had moved a bit too quickly was one of them. With panic screams, the crowd instantly collapsed, and they fled backwards. At this time, the flames parted on their own, and an elegant Kirin beast stepped out. Its eyes were dim, as if it were exhausted. But as it looked around, it still maintained its arrogance and disdain. Even though it had suffered heavy injuries, the Samadhi true fire was still present. It wasn't something that these lowly humans could resist, and they would soon be burned to ashes. Kirin beast! It's the Fire Kirin. Screams filled the air with fear and despair. The Fire Kirin swept its eyes around and opened its mouth. A soldier was sucked into its mouth, chewed, and swallowed. It stuck out its bright red tongue and swept away the blood around its mouth. A look of joy flashed in the Fire Kirin's eyes. To it, these humans that were rich in heaven and earth's spiritual strength were living tonics. As long as it could swallow them all, its injuries would be healed. Shwa. Flames flashed, and the Kirin beast pounced forwards. Its mouth opened wide, and wherever it passed, soldiers would be swallowed up. It was unknown who it was, but someone suddenly shouted out, "The Kirin beast is injured. If we join forces, we might be able to kill it." Another voice sounded out. "That's right. If you and I continue to run away like this, we will only be swallowed up by it. We will all die. Since we're all going to die, we might as well go all out. Perhaps we can still live. Kill. Let's go all out." In the crowd, the light of supernatural powers shined and struck the Kirin beast. Its giant body shook, and it was actually forced back several steps. This scene caused the eyes of the despairing crowd to brighten. The Fire Kirin had really been injured. Let's go all out. If we kill the Fire Kirin, not only can we live, but we will also have great harvests. Kill. After finding a new lease of life in a hopeless situation, the strength that erupted from them was inconceivably strong. The Fire Kirin was caught off guard and suffered several vicious blows. Its originally crimson eyes turned even redder. Someone as powerful as it had actually been wounded by these weak ants. To the Kirin beast, this was the greatest shame. Roar. With a loud roar, flames gathered in the Fire Kirin's mouth once more. Samadhi, true fire. Hurry and run. Who? A sea of fire instantly bloomed. One by one, the cultivators were buried in the sea of fire and burned to ashes. A look of joy flashed in the Fire Kirin's eyes, but there was also a bit of exhaustion. Using the Samadhi true fire in an injured state had indeed consumed a great deal of energy. However, it had no choice but to do this. Only by shocking these humans and causing them to be so terrified that they didn't dare to resist could it swallow them to its heart's content. Although it had lost a great deal of food to the Samadhi true fire, at this time it couldn't care too much about that. The Fire Kirin swept its eyes over the panic-stricken cultivators. Its eyes flashed with savagery, and it roared once more before rushing forwards. Roar! With a pained roar, the Fire Kirin tumbled backwards. Several cultivators appeared in front of it, and the one leading them was Wang Yuanan. These people that were thought to have died to the Samadhi true fire were actually alive and well. It seemed that the reason was because of the little shield in Wang Yuanan's hand that was still emitting hot steam. Attack! Finish this quickly! With a loud shout, Wang Yuanan was the first to rush out. Several people followed close behind. The Fire Kirin roared again and again. It smashed into the left and right, sending cultivators flying away one after another. However, it was unable to escape. In addition, it had been severely wounded and had continuously stimulated the Samadhi true fire, so it didn't have the strength to do so anymore. Although it was aggressive, if things continued like this, it would be killed sooner or later. The fleeing cultivators all revealed looks of pleasant surprise. But as their thoughts raced, their complexions stiffened. No one was stupid. Wang Yuanan had commanded them all along the way. After encountering the Fire Kirin, the Sharp Knife Squad had nearly been completely annihilated, but he and his trusted subordinates had managed to come out unscathed. If someone said that there wasn't something fishy going on here, even a ghost wouldn't believe it. But even if they suspected something, they had no evidence. Moreover, saying such things now was no different from seeking death. They all lowered their heads and swallowed their words. Everyone, the Fire Kirin is extremely strong. We have been attacking it for a long time and haven't been able to take it down. If other powerful monster beasts are drawn over, it will be difficult for us to escape this calamity. Wang Yuanan jumped out of the battle circle. He turned and shouted, "So, I ask everyone to attack together. After we kill the Fire Kirin, everyone will benefit." The crowd hesitated. Wang Yuanan narrowed his eyes. "What? You don't want to attack? Are you waiting for my brother to go all out and then reap the benefits? At worst, I'll just turn around and leave." This was a threat. Everyone's eyes flashed with fear. If Wang Yuanan and the others really left, they feared they wouldn't even be enough to be swallowed by the Fire Kirin. "Hold on, that's not what we mean. Everyone, let's help Brother Wang." "That's right. Cultivators turned and returned to the battlefield one after another. Wang Yuanan's eyes flashed with smug satisfaction. Even if they knew his intentions, they still had to obediently allow him to manipulate them. He swept his eyes over a figure and frowned. He said in a low voice, "Fellow Taoist Qin Yu, where are you going?" Qin Yu turned around. He lightly said, "My cultivation is low, so I won't delay you from killing the fire Kirin. Farewell." As he finished speaking, his figure flickered several times and he vanished from sight. "Young master, this person doesn't know what's good for him. Do you want me to?" A cultivator asked, his expression grim. Wang Yuanan coldly snorted. "Whatever. Killing the fire Kirin is more important now. It won't be too late to settle accounts with him in the future." Chapter 279. During this period of time, Qin Yu had been placed under house arrest in the Yu family. Through his handphone, he had gained a much better understanding of the land of divinity and demons. For instance, the wilderness he was in right now. The land of divinity and demons had a brilliant cultivation civilization. Countless large and small countries had been established, and these countries were formed by cultivators. Their strength was naturally inconceivably formidable. But even with such formidable strength, they still weren't able to completely control this vast and boundless world. As for the territories that weren't controlled, they were the world of monster beasts and were collectively referred to as the wilderness. For instance, the southern Overwatch Pass was a military city on the edge of the country. It was only because it was deep in the wilderness that monster beasts would often attack it. If it were in the hinterlands of a country, the monster beasts would have been killed off or they would have gathered in a small number of areas. The environment would be extremely safe. According to Qin Yu's judgment, his current position should be deep in the wilderness. He could encounter monster beasts at any time. With his cultivation, he didn't fear ordinary monster beasts. But if he were to encounter a divine soul or blue sea realm super monster beast, he might not even have a chance to escape. So, the most important thing right now was to find the location of the beast hunting battalion. As long as he entered the camp, he would be temporarily safe. Qin Yu took out the crystal. After pouring his divine sense into it, a vague guidance appeared. This was to prevent the crystal from being obtained by monster beasts and directly threatening the safety of the beast hunting battalion. Only by approaching a certain range and confirming his identity would he be able to obtain the true location of the beast hunting battalion. After carefully sensing for a moment, Qin Yu determined the approximate location. He carefully put away the crystal and was about to hurry on his way. But then, he suddenly frowned and turned to look behind him. He saw a mass of crimson flames flying towards him at an astonishing speed. Wherever it passed, ancient trees would be burnt to ashes. The terrifying burning aura left one startled. Fire Kirin. Qin Yu's complexion changed. He never thought that the fire Kirin that was being chased would actually escape here. After carefully looking at it several times, his heart raced. This fire Kirin had clearly suffered heavy injuries. Now that it had fled here, it was already an arrow at the end of its flight. In particular, the ruthlessly burning flames around its body were weakening. Although he hadn't entered the beast hunting battalion yet, Qin Yu had already learned of its rules from Tianyin. The beast hunting battalion had beast hunting points that were obtained by hunting monster beasts. And with beast hunting points, one could exchange them for all treasures in the entire military system. This included the first-grade lotus that could directly enhance a cultivator's talent. One reason Qin Yu joined the beast hunting battalion was to avoid the eyes and ears of the Yu family. But another important reason was to find a way to exchange for a first-grade lotus. Within the land of divinity and demons, there were countless heavenly treasures, and the number of geniuses that were born was incalculable. If one wanted to stand out and become a powerhouse, while the little blue lamp was a peerless weapon, one's own talent was also of utmost importance. Otherwise, one's growth speed would be greatly reduced. Although he didn't know what rank this fire Qilin was, There was no doubt that it was a high-level monster beast. If he could kill it, he would be able to obtain a great deal of hunter points before he even entered the beast hunting battalion. To Chinyu, this was a great temptation. As he was hesitating, the fire Kirin that was fleeing in a sorry state had already made a choice for him. It struggled to break out of the encirclement. After fleeing here, it was like a lamp without oil. A weak human cultivator had suddenly appeared in front of him. So what was there to hesitate about? Devour him. Roar. With a roar, the fire Qilin charged forward. Under the threat of death, it actually erupted with considerable strength in this desperate situation. A sharp light flashed in Qinyu's eyes. Bang! Crimson flames instantly ignited. His entire body was like a blazing meteor as he cut through the endless skies and smashed into the fire Qilin. With a loud explosion, the fire Qilin was sent tumbling backwards. Its eyes widened, as if it never imagined that a human that was as weak as an ant in front of it would suddenly possess such terrifying strength. Then, a sharp pain transmitted from its chest and abdomen, rapidly drawing out the last remnants of its strength. With an unwilling roar, the fire Qilin's massive body crashed to the ground. Chinyu staggered and his face paled. The 5-element swords in his hand scattered. In order to kill the fire Qilin in the shortest time possible, he had paid a considerable price. With a flick of his sleeves, the fire Qilin's corpse vanished from sight. Chinyu turned and left, vanishing in several flashes. Soon, several figures flew over. Wang Yuanan's complexion paled, and his eyes were filled with hatred. Who is it? Who is it? Who dares to steal away my fire Qilin? Behind him, a cultivator quickly stepped forwards. Young master, I will help you find this person. He lifted a hand and bit down on his finger. Then, a dark red line appeared between his eyebrows, and an eye appeared. It opened and emitted a misty light. In the next moment, within this light, everything that happened just now was clearly displayed. The fire Qilin had fled here and was killed and taken away by someone. Chinyu. Wang Yuanan stubbornly stared at the figure in the image. I want you dead. Bang. He exploded forwards, chasing in the direction that Chinyu had left in. In the highest heavens, endless astral winds roared and howled. They were as sharp as blades, capable of cutting apart any living being that entered. Space seemed as if it couldn't withstand the might of the astral winds. Because of this, space began to distort and blur. One could faintly make out a floating mountain in front of them. It was hidden in the eye of the astral winds, wrapped in a faint layer of light so that it wasn't affected by the astral winds outside. If one looked carefully, they would discover that this floating mountain was constantly moving along with the howling astral winds. At the peak of the floating mountain, an iron tower rose up from the ground. The crystal at the tip of the tower shined with a dazzling light, transmitting invisible signals like ripples in water to every corner of the floating mountain. Then, these signals were received by all sorts of equipment and transformed into wonderful images and sounds. A new batch of beast hunters is on their way here. According to the traditions of the beast hunting battalion, they are undergoing a rigorous examination. I wonder how many people will be able to smoothly arrive at the camp. We'll be waiting to see. The newcomer examination is nearing its end. Out of consideration for fairness, we haven't interfered at all. Thus, this station still doesn't know the exact situation. But we have already sent reporters to the transmission station. Once the newcomers arrive, we will immediately bring you a complete report. Regarding the loss rate of the rookies, it has already been opened for several days. Now, the betting situation is very hot. According to this station's exclusive news, 50% loss rate is the highest, followed by 60% loss rate. It looks like everyone doesn't have much confidence in the rookies this time. Half a month ago, the fire Kirin that was severely wounded by the combined efforts of 3 hunting squads has already escaped. Because Kirin beasts are innately cruel and vengeful. In order to avoid future losses, the beast hunting platform has issued an urgent message to increase the number of points marked by the fire Kirin. The vast majority of beast hunters are urged to take action and kill the fire Kirin while it is at its weakest. Giant screens on the streets, crystals hanging indoors, small hand phones in palms, all types of communication equipment were broadcasting this information. Although they weren't the same, most of them were closely related to hunting beasts. That was because this floating mountain was the illustrious and famous beast hunting battalion. Countless monster beasts hated this place to the bone, and they had scoured the wilderness to no avail. Who would have thought that would be hidden within the astral winds of the nine heavens? At this time, in a large residence within the beast hunting battalion, a middle-aged cultivator wearing blue chain armor with two white temples frowned as he put down the satellite phone in his hands. A gloomy light flashed in his eyes. After several breaths of silence, he picked up the red, encrypted phone on the table and dialed. Soon the call connected. The middle-aged cultivator slowly said, "Temporarily block off the transmission array. All those who arrive are to be temporarily imprisoned. Carefully investigate and determine their identities." After hanging up, the middle-aged cultivator stood up. He took a helmet from the coat rack and put it on. To arbitrarily block off the transmission array, even with his status, he still needed to make a prompt explanation. Soon, the middle-aged cultivator arrived in front of another large residence. The guard hurriedly bowed and welcomed him in. Behind the desk, a cultivator who was drawing put down his brush. He smiled and said, "Brother Jingjia, how come you have the free time to come here today?" Yuan Jingjia smiled. "The reason I came to see the commander is for official business." His expression was solemn. "I obtained news that the monster beasts might have placed spies within this batch of newcomers in an attempt to infiltrate the beast hunting battalion. In order to avoid any accidents, I have already ordered for the transmission array to be temporarily blocked and for a careful investigation." According to the rumors of the outside world, the commander of the beast hunting battalion was a fiendish monster who resembled a butcher. He didn't resemble the elegant and calm man in front of him at all. He furrowed his eyebrows and then smiled. "If that's the case, then Brother Jingjia's handling this matter is extremely appropriate. I have no objections." Yuan Jingjia stood up and bowed. "Commander, rest assured that I will handle this as soon as possible so that it doesn't cause any more problems." Qin stopped. He carefully looked around and determined that the direction he sensed was in the mountain range in front of him. The beast hunting battalion was here. Shua, his figure flashed, and he flew in. "Who goes there?" With a loud shout, several people jumped out from behind the thistles and thorns. Their expressions were cold, and their eyes were bright, and they emitted an awe-inspiring pressure. Qin Yu's heart skipped a beat. These people had been hiding here, and he hadn't noticed them at all. He quickly cupped his hands together and said, "I am Qin Yu, a new beast hunter. This is my proof of identity." He took out a token and handed it over. A cultivator took it, looked at it carefully, and said in a deep voice, "Why are you alone?" Qin Yu said, "I was attacked by monster beasts on the way and was separated from the main group." He passed through the wilderness alone and arrived at the camp's transmission array. The several cultivators across from him were a bit more surprised, and their expressions softened. "We just received orders from the camp to temporarily close the transmission array in order to prevent monster beasts from attacking. Wait here for a moment. Once the transmission array is restored, you may enter the camp." Powerhouses, no matter where they went, were respected. This was especially true for the beast hunting battalion. Qin Yu frowned. The transmission array was closed? How could there be such a coincidence? He was just about to arrive, and the transmission array was stopped. Could it be? A bit of gloominess surged in his heart, but his complexion didn't change much. He nodded and was led into the tent. At the same time, several hundred miles away from the mountain peak, Wang Yuanan took out his satellite handphone. He looked down at the news he just received and diabolically grinned. "We found him." Several subordinates were overjoyed. "Where is this person?" "Transmission Mountain." "Ah, he's actually so fast." The subordinate was startled. Wang Yuanan hesitated for a moment and then sneered. "It's just luck. With his nascent soul cultivation, do you think he can stir up any waves in front of us?" A subordinate revealed a worried expression. "But he has already arrived at the transmission mountain. By the time we arrive, I fear he will have already entered the beast hunting battalion. Wang Yuanan lightly said, Uncle has temporarily sealed off the transmission array. He can't go anywhere. He looked up, his eyes filled with cruelty. Qin, you dare to steal my monster beasts? You are dead. Whoosh. Chapter 280. An hour later, they could see the transmission mountain in the distance. Shua. Two cultivators flew out from the forest. They respectfully bowed. Greetings, young master. Wang Yuanan stopped. He asked, Are you my uncle's people? We were ordered by the general to wait here for young master. The two respectfully said. Wang Yuanan went straight to the point. Where is he? He is in the tent. Lead the way. Qin sat down cross-legged. He suddenly frowned. As he opened his eyes, he saw that the tent had been opened from the outside. Wang Yuanan strode in. He coldly said, Qin, you never thought we would meet again here. Qin expression didn't change. Fellow Taoist Wang, what is the meaning of this? A subordinate shouted out, You're still pretending. You stole my family's young master's fire Kirin. Do you think this matter will end like this? Qin secretly frowned. When he killed the fire Kirin, there was no one around. So how did they know? The subordinate coldly sneered. He opened the eye between his eyebrows, and a brilliant light shot out, clearly displaying the scene of the fire Kirin's death. What else do you have to say? Gloominess flashed in Qin eyes. He never thought that there would be such supernatural powers in this world that could reconstruct what had happened. His complexion sank before he calmed down. That's right. I was the one who killed the fire Kirin. Brat, it's good that you admit it. Obediently hand over the fire Kirin. Otherwise, don't blame us for being impolite. Another subordinate shouted out. Qin lightly said, I was the one who killed the fire Kirin, so it naturally belongs to me. Insolence. If it weren't for my family's young master severely wounding that beast, do you think you could kill the fire Kirin with your strength? Let me tell you, obediently hand it over so that you don't suffer more. Wang Yuanan lifted a hand, preventing his subordinate from speaking. Qin, hand over the fire Kirin, and we will write off everything from before otherwise. A cold light flashed in his eyes. Qin frowned. The transmission mountain is already under the jurisdiction of the beast hunting battalion. Do you still dare to steal it? Wang Yuanan laughed. I naturally wouldn't dare to steal it. But if you die, who will speak nonsense? Perhaps we might even be able to obtain the merit of killing a monster beast spy. He flicked his sleeves, attack. As he shouted just now, the auras of several nearby subordinates erupted at the same time. The air suddenly became thick and sticky, covering Qin like a swamp. A trace of pride flashed in Wang Yuanan's eyes. Did he really think he had the patience to talk so much nonsense? Anyone who dared to steal his fire Qilin was doomed to die, and no one could save them. Shua. He took a step forwards and raised his hand. His 5 fingers formed a claw as he grasped at Qin head. Bang! A muffled sound rang out, and Wang Yuanan's eyes widened in shock. He staggered back, each step leaving a deep footprint in the ground. Qin retreated even faster. He borrowed the force of the shaking to tear apart the imprisoning strength around him. With a flash of light, he smashed through the tent. Wang Yuanan was enraged. Capture him, Qin shouted out loud. With his cultivation galvanizing, his voice spread far and wide. Wang Yuanan, how bold of you! You actually want to kill your companion and steal his treasure. The entire teleportation mountain was startled as over 10 figures arrived at the scene. Who dares to make such a ruckus and violate military rules? Do you not want to live? The bearded man roared out, his single eye flashing with a cold, killing intent. Qin quickly cupped his hands together. I am Qin, a new beast hunter. I was originally traveling with Wang Yuanan and the others, but I never thought they would try to steal my treasure and try to kill me. I had no choice but to shout for help. I asked for my lord's forgiveness. The man's eyes widened. Plotting to kill your companion. The reason he was blinded in the past was because he had been betrayed. In his life, he hated this sort of person the most, so his face filled with cruelty. The two cultivators who brought Wang Yuan on in all had bitter expressions as they rushed over. They blocked the several people behind him and said in a low voice, "Young master, please don't do anything." Wang Yuan roared, "Get out of the way. No one dares to steal my things." The two cultivators only blocked him. They cursed in their hearts as they felt a headache coming on. Not only had several people gone in, but they had also caused such a ruckus. If it were anyone else, they wouldn't care, but the one-eyed dragon in front of them, Tong Han's Han, was an illustrious and famous figure in the beast-hunting battalion. He was known to be lawless and difficult to deal with. Today's matter had been discovered by him. If they didn't handle it well, not only would they suffer, but even the general would be implicated. Tong Han's Han narrowed his eyes. Who is he? Reporting to Commandant Tong, Su Yuan is General Yuan's nephew. He came with the other beast hunters to gain experience in the battalion. This fellow Daoist Qin, you should only be a misunderstanding, a cultivator said with a smile. Tong Hanshan's complexion darkened. Yuan Jingzhe, within the entire beast hunting battalion, there were less than a handful of people in charge, and this person was one of them. Although he was ranked towards the back, his strength wasn't something he could compare with. To offend Yuan Jingzhe for a stranger wasn't worth it. But since he had interfered in today's matters, if he were to be scared away by a mere name, then he would lose all face. As he hesitated, Qin Yu suddenly said, "Thank you for your help, Commandant Tong." I think about it carefully, I really did misunderstand Brother Wang. He shouldn't have any ill intentions towards me. Yes, this is definitely a misunderstanding. As this person spoke, he winked at Qin Yu. Wang Yuan wasn't an idiot. From the expressions of these two people, he could tell that this surname Tong wasn't easy to deal with. If they were to fight, there would likely be trouble. But as he thought about how the fire Kirin had been snatched away by Qin Yu, he felt as if a fishbone was stuck in his throat. He found it hard to breathe. He clenched his teeth and said, "That's right, it was a misunderstanding." Tong Hanshan's eyes flashed with satisfaction. This boy was quite tactful. He lightly said, "That's for the best. Be more careful in the future and don't casually stir up any trouble." He turned and led his people away. Qin Yu bowed. As he stood up, Wang Yuan clenched his teeth, his face cold. But now, he couldn't casually attack again. "We're leaving." He angrily led his people away. What happened at the transmission mountain was like a small splash in a long river. It didn't cause any great waves and soon vanished from sight. One day later, the transmission array was restored. Qin Yu, Wang Yuan, and the others, as well as the new beast hunters that arrived, vanished in a flash of light. Over 80% of the new batch of beast hunters had died. Only 17 people arrived at the camp. After the news was confirmed, there was a great deal of sorrow. Those that made bets naturally made a great profit. After compensating several lucky fellows, their mouths were still covered in grease. Originally, there were many beast hunters that were prepared to find trouble with these 17 people. They had caused them to lose points, so it was natural for them to be taught a lesson. However, when news of the newcomers encountering the fire Kirin spread out, the beast hunters fell silent. They expressed their sympathy and condolences, thinking that it wasn't easy for 17 of them to survive. However, as this news spread out, there was also the news that some lucky boy had really managed to kill the fire Kirin and even made it to the camp alive. This time, it really left others envious and drooling. The fire Kirin itself was a high-level monster beast with the potential to become a monster king. After killing it, one could obtain rich rewards. Moreover, not too long ago, the beast hunting platform had added another piece of news. In order to avoid future retaliation from the fire Kirin, the monster hunters that killed it could obtain even more points. It was said that the entire team of newcomers had fought with the fire Kirin and suffered heavy casualties. Then, some boy called Qin Yu had picked up the profits. What the F***CK? What a lucky bastard. And most importantly, why didn't I have any? However, he was just a newcomer. Even if he killed the fire Kirin, he might not know just how precious it was. Thus, in the camp that was specially prepared for the newcomers and had the worst environment, many people immediately gathered. A large fellow casually grabbed a cultivator on the side of the road. He said in a muffled voice, "Boy, where's that Chinyu?" His face flushed red. In front of this large fellow, he felt as weak as a piece of straw. He gulped and hurriedly said, "In front of us, that black tent." Puff. Before he finished speaking, he was tossed to the ground. The large fellow strode forwards and arrived in front of the tent. He rushed in and swept his eyes around. "Who is Chinyu?" Chinyu frowned. He stood up and cupped his hands together. "I am. May I ask what the senior is here for?" Facing a divine soul realm cultivator, he naturally had to be respectful. The large fellow directly said, "I heard that when you came, you killed a fire Kirin. I just happen to need the blood of a fire Kirin to cultivate, so sell it to me." His tone was unquestionable. Chinyu's heart sank. Under the shining eyes of the large fellow, he felt as if there was a blade pressing down on his back. It was clear that if he refused, this person wouldn't give up. At this time, the tent was opened again. "Who is Chinyu?" The large fellow's complexion changed. He turned and said, "Yang Baijan, you are too late. The fire Kirin is mine." Yang Baijan wore mottled armor, and his withered body looked common. But a divine light occasionally flashed in his eyes, causing one's heart to tremble like an arrow. "Yours? Then take it out." Chinyu's thoughts stirred. He respectfully said, "Junior Chinyu greets Senior Yang." Yang Baijan smiled. "You are Chinyu? Is a fire Kirin in your hands?" Chinyu nodded. "Yes, that's good. Sell the fire Kirin to me. What do you want? Just say it." Yang Baijan waved his hand. The large fellow was enraged. A wild aura broke out from his body, and he seemed to instantly transform into a great beast. "Yang Baijan, don't go too far. I came here first, so the fire Kirin naturally belongs to me." Yang Baijan responded with equal harshness. A swift and fierce spear intent soared into the skies, as if it could pierce through the world. "There's no need to speak of such nonsense like first come, first serve. If you want to fight, then I will accompany you." Cough, cough. The two of you are quite angry. How about we sit down and discuss who the fire Kirin belongs to? Another person stepped into the tent. The auras of three divine soul realm cultivators faintly clashed. The air was so heavy that it seemed as if it would drip water. The newcomers in the tent nearly shed tears. "Just what are you doing?" Not too far away, Wang Yuanan was gnashing his teeth so hard that they nearly broke. He howled inwardly, "Mine, this is mine, it should be mine. Damn you, Chinyu, you bastard, I will never let you off." But his eyes couldn't help but fall onto the divine soul powerhouse that just entered the tent. He hoped that this person could smoothly buy the fire Kirin. To him, this was far too important. No matter what price he had to pay, he couldn't allow any accidents to occur. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.